You're watching TSN, the sports network.
Last night at the Memorial Cup, Felix Potvin of Chicoutimi and Pierre Gagnon of Drummondville engaged in a classic battle of great young goaltenders.
Through, Plot shoots, that is blocked, Plot again, in front, Potvin the save. Here comes LaRouche, up to Charbonneau, back to LaRouche, walks in, Gagnon stops him cold.
Even at 1 through regulation time, Drummondville and Chicoutimi go to overtime. For the winner, there's a berth in the final. For the loser, there's the end of a season. And this game becomes part of the Memorial Cup legend.
Up to LaPerriere for Paquette in front, bouncing scores.
An unlikely bounce makes Ian LaPerriere an instant Memorial Cup hero. For Steve Gosselin, a moment he wishes he could forget. For Drummondville, a moment they never will. The Voltigeurs are off to the final to meet the Spokane Chiefs at the 1991 Memorial Cup.
The Memorial Cup, an old trophy, but the reflections cast are of young faces. It's a championship that has launched many brilliant careers. Slips away, but memories never do.
After it is Turcotte, coming back to the line of
The faces are just as young now, and the hopes just as high for a Memorial Cup championship.
They are the shooting stars of the Spokane Chiefs. Pat Balloon leads the way with 7 goals. Line mate Ray Whitney is second with 5. Together they form a potent combination that has led the way in this tournament. Combine that with the outstanding goaltending of Trevor Kidd, and you've got a Spokane team on the fast track to a championship. At this year's Memorial Cup, Cinderella wears red and black and comes from Drummondville. Patrice Brisebois and the Voltigeurs have been outstanding so far. Their win over Chicoutimi last night came as a surprise, but puts them now in the final and in position to bring Quebec its first title in 20 years. It's Drummondville and Spokane tonight. Molson Cooper presents the 1991 Memorial Cup. Tonight, the tournament final, Drummondville and Spokane, live from Le Colisée in Quebec City. The Memorial Cup is brought to you by Molson Canadian, what beer's all about. By Cooper Canada, official equipment supplier to the CHL and proud co-sponsor of the Memorial Cup. In part by Shell, maker of the performance gasoline, Formula Shell. They first came to this arena to see Jean Beliveau of the Quebec Aces. Later, it was Guy Lafleur of the Quebec Remparts. Tonight, they come to see the next generation of future stars in the final of the 1991 Memorial Cup. Good evening, everyone. I'm Gord Miller, and welcome to Quebec City, where the Spokane Chiefs have been installed as a solid pregame favorite. The reason? A very impressive resume. Spokane comes into this game with a 14-game winning streak in the postseason. They're undefeated in this tournament. And take a look at the numbers. Spokane's 22 goals scored are the highest in the tournament. Their 8 goals against are the fewest. They have the top 3 scorers in the tournament, and Pat Balloon is 1 goal away from the Memorial Cup record for most goals. But one thing works against Spokane, and that's history. Since the current format was adopted 13 years ago, 5 teams have gone undefeated through the round robin. Only one of those teams, Oshawa, last year has gone on to win the final. The other 4 were defeated. Now for Drummondville, the resume is not as impressive, but intangibles are definitely on Drummondville's side. Spokane is 3,000 miles from here. Drummondville is an hour away. This building will be packed with their fans who celebrated well into the night last night when Drummondville defeated Chicoutimi in the semifinal. The Drummondville players know that if they win tonight, they'll be more than just Memorial Cup champions. They'll be folk heroes in a province where hockey is more than a sport. It is indeed a passion. All season long, Paul Romanek and Bob McKenzie have brought you the best of the CHL. They check in now with their pregame thoughts.
Thank you very much, Gord. The #1 pregame thought centers around offense and the tremendous offensive ability of the Spokane Chiefs. It hasn't taken them any longer than 1:55 into any game in this tournament to get on the scoreboard. How do you cork that kind of an offensive weapon?
Well, short of taking away the skates of Ray Whitney and Pat Falloon, I'm not quite sure. It's a big task for Drummondville. What they're going to do tonight is just designate 2 of their lines, including their #1 offensive line, and say, when Whitney and Falloon are on the ice, you guys check them and check them hard. That's the kind of attention to defense Drummondville's going to have to pay. You know, Brian Maxwell comes into these games, he goes for a walk before the game, he collects his thoughts, he bursts into the dressing room and says, I give the guys a bump. And if you've seen Brian Maxwell, it's almost terrifying to see, but that's the way Spokane comes. When they come out of the gate, they're flying.
If there is anyone who can take the weapon out of Spokane's hands, it may well be goaltender Pierre Gagnon. He played the game of the season last night. Can he do it again less than 24 hours later?
Well, he's going to need a miracle, and he may in fact have found one. Today he went with some of his teammates to the Basilica at St. Anne de Beaupré, a world-famous shrine here in Quebec where a number of miracles have taken place. Now, whether that translates into a miracle on the ice, we'll find out later.
The last time a Western Hockey League team played a Quebec Major Junior Hockey League team in the championship was 1985, when Prince Albert, led by Dan Hodgson, defeated Shawinigan by a score of 6-1. We shall see what unfolds tonight. Here's Gord Miller.
All right, thanks very much, gentlemen. Neither of these teams have ever won the Memorial Cup. Tonight, one of them will be a first-time champion. Coming up next, the final of the Memorial Cup, live on TSN.
Okay, stay with me here. This is a tire. This is a tune-up. Your Goodyear certified auto service retailer does both, and very well, I might add. So if you say tire, he'll show you one of these. If you say tune-up, he'll hook your car up to this. you know, whatever this is. But don't worry, he knows what it is, and isn't that the important thing here?
From tune-ups to tires, Goodyear takes you home.
I take you home, but, you know, I'm getting a tune-up and a tire.
Big boys love their toys. That's why there's the Chevy half-ton short box extended cab. More room than Ford for the boys. More payload for the toys. And big boys can still put their toys away at night.
Today's truck is Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Le Colisée in Quebec City, moments away from the start of the 1991 Memorial Cup championship game between the Spokane Chiefs and the Drummondville Voltigeurs. And up next, you will hear maybe the biggest cheer of the night for the honorary president of this year's Memorial Cup, Guy Lafleur. Dignitaries all being presented at center ice for the ceremonial puck drop. And here he comes. John Clem facing off in a situation that really doesn't mean all that much. They will be meeting up over the course of the next couple of hours in some very crucial situations, no doubt. Before we get things started, the national anthems.
Mesdames et messieurs.
Not counting exhibition games, the Spokane Chiefs have played 87 times this year. Tonight being the 88th game of the season for them. The Drummondville Voltigeurs, not counting exhibition games, have played 88 times. Tonight is number 89. And you can bet that in games number 88 and 89, despite the fact that the length of time is regulation, just like all the others, it will be a much longer and tougher road. Pierre Gagnon starting in goal tonight for Drummondville. He was spectacular last night in turning aside rush after Chicoutimi rush. He backstopped his team to a berth in the championship game today. At the other end, Trevor Kidd, who was outstanding down the stretch run and all through the playoffs for Spokane. His arms at times have carried this team. We'll see if they're strong enough to carry them through one more game and their most important game of the year. Luc Meville is the referee for this game. Jean Morin and Pierre Tremblay are on the lines. Brian Maxwell, the head coach of this Spokane team, making a tough call before the game in deciding not to dress right winger Mark Wolf for disciplinary reasons.
Wolf, of course, has had a history of discipline problems with this team. He was kicked off the team towards the end of the regular season, brought back 2 games into the playoffs, cleaned up his act and been on the straight and narrow. For whatever reason, he's not playing tonight. Maxwell would only say discipline. Tonight, Paul, Drummondville goes up and tries to be the giant killer. Spokane has been the class of this tournament. They're 60 minutes away from their first Memorial Cup. Drummondville stands in their way.
And Spokane starting with the blistering attack of Whitney and Falloon. When the gruesome twosome are on the ice, look out in the offensive zone. Cam Daniluk playing the wing to start the game. Whitney overskates it. John Clem bumping it center. Moves it up, passes a little bit too far ahead for Pat Falloon. Back to pick it up. Here comes Dupre. Played a strong game last night and fires the first shot on goal. Trevor Kidd, no problem stopping him from that range. Here comes Daniluk. Down the middle, trying to get outside on Brisebois. Bouncing puck. Falloon will step in, but offside is called. Cam Daniluk couldn't get out in time.
Jean Hamel's challenge is to deal with Whitney and Falloon, the firepower, the big guns for Spokane. What he will do tonight is use the line he just had out there. Roger Larch with Yannick Dupre and Denny Chassé, or Ian LaPerriere's line, to go up against him. And those lines are on the ice. Their #1 mandate is do nothing but stop Pat Falloon and Ray Whitney, and in this case, Cam Daniluk, who's playing on the left side.
Pat Falloon, outstanding season, 138 points and only 33 penalty minutes. As well as being an effective hockey player, he is a clean hockey player. Bart Cote shovels it up, and here comes Whitney, but he's offside. He and Falloon didn't quite have their timing down coming in over the blue line.
Ray Whitney is a native of Edmonton, the Western Hockey League scoring champion this year, and he and Falloon have been dynamic this entire week. They blew away the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. It was 5-0 before the game was 5 minutes old. And as we showed off the top, that quick strike offense, they're now on the bench, and consider that a small moral victory. There's a lot of hockey still to be played, but at least Drummondville didn't go down early on the first shift.
That MCR that you saw on the graphic, meaning Memorial Cup record. Whitney coming close to breaking that. Here's Jickling breaking in, scores! They do it again.
Spoke far too soon, Paul. Mike Jickling came down the right wing, stepped over the blue line and fired what looked like a knuckleball that handcuffed Pierre Gagnon. You see Stéphane Desjardins, number 23, got caught pinching up. And there's a shot, just basically, it seemed to be misplayed. Jickling just stepped across and fired a bouncing puck. Puck was up on end almost when he hit it, and a real knuckler that just sort of dipped under the blocker of Pierre Gagnon. And Mike Jickling does the damage. Ray Whitney, Pat Falloon on the bench. The quick strike offense strikes again. Just has a different look to it this time.
58 seconds into the game, Mike Jickling scores the goal. It's unassisted, 1-0. And check that, they do hand out 1 assist, and it goes to Trevor Kidd, the goaltender. So Kidd, whom everyone is expecting to contribute with big saves, contributing offensively early in this game.
Got a penalty coming up on the play here. An elbowing penalty, and it's not going to look good for Jean Hamel's team. Number 7, Eric Dandeneau, going off for elbowing, called by Luc Miville. You see Dandeneau come in on Kroon and just give him a shot as he goes by, knocking his helmet off. And then Kroon came in after the whistle and ran up against the Drummondville defenseman against the boards.
So Spokane, which has a potent offense at even strength, will now get a chance on the power play. Mike Jickling scoring 58 seconds into the game from Trevor Kidd, but still Brian Maxwell a long way from looking relaxed. A long way.
Brian Maxwell's been here before. Not necessarily Quebec City so much as the 1987 Memorial Cup final with the Medicine Hat Tigers. He was on the other side of the coin going up against an undefeated Oshawa General team. Maxwell's team won that game 6-2.
And they are off and running in this game. Here comes Falloon. Cuts in. Zoke cutting in too. Pass intended for John Clem up to join the rush. Couldn't get it to him. Clem back at the point with Ray Whitney. Whitney normally a forward, of course, but plays the point on the power play. He's got it now. Shoots it in. Bouncing puck. Chassé will dump it out. Here comes Larsh against Whitney, trying to beat him. In there. Can't get the shot, and he crashes into the post. And a penalty coming up. It's going to be a holding call against Ray Whitney, and that will snuff out the Spokane man advantage with still 1:28 to go in what would have been their power play.
Ray Whitney had little choice there but to take Roger Larsh down. Larsh driving to the net, a couple of pint-sized players, both around the 5'8", 5'10" variety. And Larsh went crashing into the net after Whitney hauled him down. Good penalty killing, good aggressive penalty killing, creating an offensive opportunity by Roger Larsh.
So the teams had even strength for the next minute and 28 seconds. And then Chicoutimi will have a 32-second power play. Chicoutimi breaking the shackles off a terrible power play last night. It had been running at an 0 for 22 clip heading into the game. They finally did get a power play goal in the first period last night. 18-11 to play first period, just underway. The 1991 Memorial Cup Championship game, the Spokane Chiefs against the Drummondville Voltigeurs. I'm Paul Romanuk with Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller. Glad you could join us as Jickling picks his way in along the boards and dumps it in around back of the net. Kroon is rubbed out. Roger Larsh will pick it up. Out to Denis Chassé. Chassé for Legault. Pass was behind him. Chiefs turn it right around. Here comes Jickling. Steps in, shoots just wide. Kroon up after the rebound. Chassé, number 10 for Drummondville, cruising over to pick it up. Legault. Pass missing Chassé by a mile. That'll head down the ice. Icing called on Drummondville. 17:24 to go in the first period. 1-0 Spokane on top.
Paul, there's no question in my mind that the Spokane team is better prepared than any team in this tournament. We see the evidence right here. Minute 55, 42 seconds, 22 seconds, and now, today, 58 seconds. It's very difficult to go up against a team like Spokane that has incredible offensive firepower, can play a physically intimidating brand of hockey if you're always playing out of a hole. You can't play catch-up against this hockey team, yet every team in the tournament has had to do it, and that's why Spokane's being so impressive and so dominating.
Chris Lafreniere cruising back to pick it up from Trevor Kidd. Here comes Pat Falloon. Had his pocket picked there by Prue. Sends it across. LaPerriere with a chance. Another chance. Hit the side of the net. They're all over the place. Can't put it in. Here's Lafreniere back of the net. Thurston. For Evans, he missed him. Great pressure by Drummondville. They were buzzing all around the net. Here comes Hugo Prue. To Dandeneau. Comes in. Kidd knocks it away. Here's Chassé with the rebound. Prue's up there too. LaPerriere bumping with Cote. Dandeneau knocks it loose. And finally hitting the release valve is Brent Thurston. Dumps it down the ice. Penalized player back on, the teams at even strength. Drummondville coming oh so close with that brief man advantage. Garvin for Thudium. He's tied up in back of the net. Jutra up ahead. Here comes Plante, one-on-one. That's batted away by Kidd. Pekarek. Savard shooting. Kidd pulls it in.
Good work by the Drummondville Voltigeurs to get some pressure on Trevor Kidd, and the Spokane defense got caught on a couple of occasions. On the very first one, Ian LaPerriere broke in over the blue line, and you'll watch the shift. The two Spokane defensemen loading up to one side, LaPerriere fading way right, and the pass gets fed over to him. Actually, that was a previous play to that. But again, the same type of thing. Spokane defense moving way over. LePerrier coming out from the corner. Eric Dandino comes in and fires a high, hard shot, rising. Looked like it was going for the corner. Trevor Kidd managed to get his blocker, the shaft of the stick on it, and deflected up off the glass.
Spokane being outshot 5-1, but they've been dead on in their shooting. One shot, one goal. Steve Jicklin scoring it at the 58-second mark. Mike Jicklin, pardon me. Here's Tavel. Gagnon will drop it off. Mark Savard along the boards, number 27 for Drummondville, just dumping it cross ice. Tavel comes back in, and offside is called on Spokane. The Chiefs once again hitting the target early.
There's one thing that makes a person attractive. It's not their hair, their face, or their clothes. It's their attitude. Molson Canadian. What beer's all about.
Mike Jicklin scoring in Spokane's only shot on goal of the game at the 58-second mark. Trevor Kidd, the goaltender, picking up the assist. Spokane still looking for its second shot on goal of the game.
Paul Whitney, Falloon, and Daniluk are out there now in this tournament. Anytime Spokane's needed a goal, Whitney and Falloon are the guys that have gotten it for them.
Larsh picks it off, shoots, rebound right in front, hooked away. Whitney back to save the day, hands it away though. Savard shooting, Lafreniere sliding out with the block. Drummondville pressing. Here comes Falloon now, up with Whitney. Falloon, Whitney, and Gagnon was there. Larsh knocking Falloon to the ice. Here comes Evans, up to Falloon. Whitney steps in. He's got Thurston with him. Falloon had a chance to bury it. Brisebois got in the way. Tavel with a shot tipped wide. And Larsh will just ping it off the glass and down the ice. 14-10 to play in the first period. 1-0. Spokane leading. And Drummondville called for icing.
Trevor Kidd coming up big early in this game, having to face 6 shots. Pierre Gagnon's only got a save percentage of .500 going right now. 2 shots on goal. 1 goal by Mike Jicklin for a 1-0 lead for Spokane. And Brent Thurston, some scoring heroics earlier in this tournament. A pair of 7s, Eric Dandino, a guy who really goes to the net well for the Drummondville Voltigeurs.
Here's Tavel with some room, fires it wide. Rebound, Zilt going after it, having his stick held. LePerriere tying him up. Lehoux trying to get rid of it. Here comes LePerriere, kicks it into gear. Up to Paquette, number 77. Cutting to the outside, dropped it back for Dandino, but he was being tied up. Here's Patrice Brisebois. Up to Guy Lehoux. Dandino, number 7, moving up for Drummondville to forecheck. Tavel getting there for Spokane, number 18. Paquette and Dandino. Knock it loose. Paquette to Lehoux, shoots, rebound, Paquette scores! Ties it up.
Excellent forechecking by Drummondville. They get the puck in the corner. They're playing the man, taking the man. Paquette does great work, puts it back to the point. Watch the rebound come out, and then watch Eric Dandino interfere with Trevor Kidd. Trevor Kidd was furious after the whistle, went right to the referee. Here's the shot coming back, Guy Lehoux, and watch Dandeneau come into the front of the net. The rebound comes out, and there goes the interference on Trevor Kidd, no question. And an empty net. Here's an overhead look at that interference, very clear cut. A sprawling save by the Spokane defenseman, but Paquette puts it in the empty net. We've got a hockey game, 1-1.
Paquette gets the goal. Lehoux picks up the assist, as well as number 7, Eric Dandeneau. A 1-1 hockey game. Desjardins back in his own end, bumped along the boards by Vanderkrash. Here's Utra, up to Plante, back up with Prue. Offside called on Drummondville. 12:53 to go, first period. And we have a tie hockey game. Paquette scoring from Lehoux and Dandeneau at 6:34.
Paquette is a guy who hasn't done a lot in this tournament, to be honest. Just one of the workmanlike players for Drummondville, but in the right place at the right time. The benefactor of some excellent forechecking by his teammates, especially Ian LaPerriere and Hugo Prue, Eric Dandeneau rather. John Hamel's got to be happy. His team's back in the hockey game. They're showing some spark. They're playing some physical hockey, carrying the play a little bit to Spokane. But this Spokane team is so explosive, you can't let down for a moment, especially when Whitney and Falloon are on the ice.
We're saying they're doing better than just showing some spark. They are carrying the play to the Spokane Chiefs, so shooting them 8-2, and it's a tie hockey game. Utra, number 29, along the boards, trying to crash it loose. Stéphane Desjardins, number 23, back to pick it up. Up to Hugo Prue. Knocked down. Here's Kroon, looking for the front of the net. He is mugged along the boards by Desjardins. Desjardins with the puck now. He's given a bump by Kroon, returning the favor. Chickling trying to poke it loose from the rugby scrum along the boards. Can't do it. We'll get a face-off down in Drummondville territory with 12:22 to play in period number 1.
Hugo Prue, some scoring heroics in this tournament, is playing on the left wing with Eric Plante and Claude Jutra Jr. And in this case, he is replacing René Corbett, who is not dressed tonight. Prue taking the left side. Corbett, a first-round pick in this year's draft coming up, an outstanding scorer. You watched the game last night. He took a slap shot on the ankle. He took the warm-up. They were hoping that he was going to be able to play. He couldn't, so Prue has moved up onto his line, and David Pekarek, a young Czechoslovakian, has stepped into the lineup to fill the hole on the fourth line, previously held by Prue.
Whitney back to Tavel, trying to get loose, shoots one just wide. Here's Whitney after the rebound. He's knocked to the ice. Savard swatting him away. Chassé breaks in. Daniluk is all over him and just eats him up, coming back with the back checking. Dupre. Tavel will pick it up. Dupre up there again. Here's Larsh. Tried to get it in front for Chassé, broken up by John Clem. And he will get a bit of a breather. 11:42 to play in the first period. It's a 1-1 hockey game.
Now, son,
yes, Dad.
You got to work to get into fighting range.
Right, Dad.
You got the old standbys, you know, the screen door dash or the front gate pounce.
Yes, Dad.
But this, oh, Henry, it'll get him every time. Watch, boy. Watch and learn.
Twizzlers make me very happy. I love the way they taste so chewy. So happy and oh so juicy. Twizzlers makes your mouth so very happy.
Spokane scoring on its first shot on goal of the game. Drummondville scoring on its 7th shot on goal of the game. And we are tied at 1.
What Drummondville will try to do here is keep forcing the play. You know, it'll be interesting to see how Spokane responds the longer this game stays close. Perhaps even if Drummondville can get a goal ahead. Spokane has not had to deal with any adversity in this tournament. They've been dominating everybody, just steamrolling over everybody in their path. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction you get if they're down a goal, perhaps.
Thurston comes away. Here comes Murray Garbutt, shoots. Gagnon will hang on to it. A good point that you bring up in terms of facing adversity. And you brought up that 1987 Memorial Cup final between Oshawa and Medicine Hat when Brian Maxwell was the coach. That was the situation there when Oshawa had faced no adversity at all through the tournament, and then Maxwell's team was all over them in the final game.
If I recall, Murray Garbutt was on that Medicine Hat team as a rookie. Here he is 4 years later with a hard shot on Pierre Gagnon. Gagnon using the borrowed catching glove. Scott Gordon of the Quebec Nordiques, he had his catching mitt stolen earlier this week. Comes up with a save that in the first period he had more trouble with.
Here's Bart Cote trying to get the puck to sit down. For Garbutt, Thurston going after it. He's hooked up on the play. Loose puck, Gagnon knocks it away. Dandino can't get it out. Garbutt is shot just wide. Toporowski moves it in. Brisebois. To the line, Toporowski. Here comes Paquette breaking in. Shoots. Kidd the save, and he'll hang on to it. Paquette, who scored the first goal of the game for Drummondville, taking aim here as he broke out.
Toporowski gets caught in at the blue line. Paquette knocks the puck by him. A 2-on-1. Paquette, not one of the smoothest puck handlers in the world, chose to shoot. It was probably a wise decision. Spokane forwards coming back into the play very well.
Ontario with the lion's share of Memorial Cup championships. The United States with one, the Portland Winterhawks, who were the Memorial Cup hosts back in 1983, winning that Memorial Cup. Steve Junker, number 11, dropping it off for Evans. Back up to Junker. In with Whitney and Falloon. Whitney through for Lafreniere, but Patrice Brisebois there to break it up. Jutra given a shot, but he got the puck out to center. You know Brisebois is going to see a lot of ice in this game, and he's going to have to play well for Drummondville to be successful.
Paul, this is the first time in the tournament I've ever seen a team pay so much attention to Whitney and Falloon. I've been wondering all along why more teams don't do it more often and stay man-to-man defense. They're doing that against Pat Falloon tonight.
It's still early, but so far the twin cannons of Falloon and Whitney have been held silent. 10.5 minutes to play in the first period, and we are tied at 1.
Eric Plante did a good job of getting back and marking Pat Falloon. Plante's now off the ice. Falloon stays out there. Eric Dandino likely to do the job this time.
Whitney, Falloon moving up for the face-off. And the puck chipped up over the glass, and we get a stoppage. The championship game of the 1991 Memorial Cup, Drummondville up against Spokane. And it's close so far, and if you had to give someone an edge, it will be the Drummondville Voltigeurs for sure.
Alexander Legault, an Edmonton Oilers draft pick, a second-round pick in '89, who came over from Boston University. Big effort last night to help get them here. He chipped in with a couple of blocked shots. He was out there when the game-winning goal was scored, a most miraculous goal. Steve Goslin of Chicoutimi knocking into his own net past a beleaguered Felix Potvin, who was spectacular in last night's game, stopping 55 shots.
Here comes Paquette, looking for some help and biding some time. Here comes Dandino, but Whitney breaks that up. Thurston comes away, up to Falloon. Slips in. Whitney breaks for the net. Whitney trying to chase it down by the line, knocked away from him. Falloon there to pick it up. Up for Lafreniere. Legault all over him. Make sure Lafreniere's foray doesn't continue too long. Legault up with Paquette. LaPerriere up to join the rush. He'll go after the puck now. Clem gets there first. Outside the line, Dupre flips it back in. Didn't wait long enough for his teammates to get onside. Spokane with too many men in the ice. And referee Luc Miville looking the other way, but just a terrible line change by the Spokane Chiefs. They had at least 6 and maybe 7 players out on the ice.
I think there were 7 at one point, 7 skaters maybe. Luc Miville just glanced over, but didn't give it another moment's notice. Spokane's been shooting the lights out in this tournament. Having a tough time getting the offense on track now. They had that 1 goal early. Ray Whitney and Pat Falloon doing most of the damage.
Kroon trying to come off the boards, gets loose, looking for the front of the net. Junker's out there, number 11, battling away, trying to get loose from Sherwois. Junker spun around. 9 minutes, 5 seconds to play in the first period. 1-1 between Spokane and Drummondville, the championship game of the 1991 Memorial Cup. Here comes Tavel, just dumping it in. Gagnon fielding it on the one hopper. Savard up for Chassé. Ahead for Larsh, just missed him. Puck just hopping over the tape. Trevor Kidd out to play it. And icing called on Drummondville.
Falloon and Whitney have pretty much had their way this week. The teams in this tournament, Sault Ste. Marie, Chicoutimi, and Drummondville in the round robin. And it shows in the scoring leaders. Pat Falloon, 7 goals. That's 1 shy of tying the tournament record held by Dale Howard-Chuck in 1981 with the Cornwall Royals and Luc Robitaille in 1986 with the Hull Olympics. Mark Wolf, the 3rd leading scorer in this tournament, not playing tonight for disciplinary reasons.
Toporowski carrying the puck and dumping it back in. Patrice Brisebois, number 24. Larsh will just golf at it. Here's Zope. He missed Maitland. Here's Guy Laou. Over to Patrice Brisebois. Has trouble with it. Zope streaking up. He's got Maitland in front. Couldn't get the pass out to him. Maitland back there after it. LaPerriere starting back out now for Drummondville. Up ahead to Chassé. In with Brisebois. Chassé gets in deep, trying to cut back in front. Maitland. Guy Laou breaking it up for Drummondville. Paquette thumped along the boards by Maitland. Here's Toporowski to Cote. Maitland just taps it in and heads to the bench. Spokane making changes on the fly. 7:35 to go in the first period. A 1-1 hockey game. Murray Garbett. Thudium comes in. He's got Garbett with him. Shot ricocheting off his skate. Garbett crashes in. Gets a piece of Gagnon and a bigger piece at the net, dislodging it, and we get a whistle.
Ian LaPerriere was the big hero last night on a very unlikely shot. Way off in the corner, he flipped it in front of the net. It was knocked into the Chicoutimi net. That was the goal that brought the Drummondville Voltigeurs, that took the Drummondville Voltigeurs to this final. LaPerriere's line has done the best job so far today with Paquette on one side and Dandino on the other. They've continued to exert force, pressuring the defense for Spokane and getting the Spokane defense caught in inside the offensive blue line.
Thudium streaking after it, trying to come in, scores! Murray Garbett put it in, and it's 2-1 Spokane.
A great burst of speed by Thudium. Watch him break away. He gets hauled down. You see him block that. Look at him go. He just breaks right up the middle. Desjardins and Legault can't pick up Murray Garbett. Number 4, Alexander Legault, the Drummondville defenseman, couldn't get back in time to get Thudium. You see him come across, and he didn't pick up Garbett coming up trailing on the play. Garbutt goes to the net very well as anybody on this team. He bangs it into the empty net.
Garbutt gets the goal, Thudian gets the assist, and Pierre Gagnon gets the question mark. After stoning Chicoutimi last night at times, he's faced only 4 shots in this game and given up 2 goals.
Well, I think he probably should have had the first one. On the second one, not much chance. He made the initial save. A bad giveaway just outside the blue line, putting it right in Thudium's pads and giving him a breakaway.
Alexander Legault being buzzed there by Whitney. Here's Falloon in front. Whitney a shot. Rebound. Gagnon's there to make the stop, and he'll cover it up.
Careless play by the Drummondville Voltigeurs with Whitney, Falloon, and Junker on the ice. You don't want to be making a mistake when these guys are out there. Puck comes off from the side. I believe that's Steve Junker, number 11, coming in the backhand. The rebound coming in. Pat Falloon picks up a loose puck in the corner and just wheels around. They've got a great sixth sense on this hockey team. Whitney makes the shot. Junker gets the rebound. Falloon barely had to look up to know exactly where Whitney was.
Here's Falloon. Out in front. Weak shot on goal. Gagnon stops that. Here's Toporowski. In for Whitney, back of the net. Savard bumping him. And Gagnon snaps the glove down to pull that one.
Both Falloon and Whitney love to pull the wraparound from behind the net. In that case, Pierre Gagnon was equal to the task. Falloon very quickly darted out from behind the net, wheeled it around, and it was scooped up, in fact, almost shoveled up by Pierre Gagnon. Pat Falloon will be a #1 pick this year in the draft. Our first rounder probably should go no later than number 3 overall to New Jersey. Ray Whitney could go just about anywhere. There's been some speculation he could go as high as the first round, but more than likely second or third.
.6:30 to play, first period. 2-1, Spokane leading. Dupre, number 21 for Drummondville, being watched by Kroon. Kroon battles it away. Had Daniluk in front. Daniluk back there to pick it up. Centers it. Lars picks it up. Here's Kroon. Shoots it just wide. Clem moving up. Into Kroon. Here's Tavel. Shoots. Ricochets off a leg to the corner. Tavel. Another shot, and that one ricochets off a leg wide. Dupre out for Chassé. Trying to battle off Clem along the boards. Jickling back to pick it up. Larsh moves in. Tavel back out now for Spokane. Tavel. That's blocked by Brisebois. He'll continue the chase into the corner. Brisebois bouncing off the boards. He got more of the board than of Tavel, but he does come away with it. Brisebois up there with Chassé. 1-on-4 the odds, and Brisebois couldn't beat those odds. Here comes Evans. Across to Falloon. Trying to break through the middle. He battles nip and tuck there with Brisebois. Lafreniere back to tag it up, and icing is called on Drummondville. 5:01 to play in the first period. The Chiefs up by 1.
No matter what you gotta do, it's around the clock freshness that says to you, you've always got time for Tim Hortons.
Our coffee is always as fresh and delicious as everything else we make. So come on in and enjoy a cup of our own special blend.
You've always got time for Tim Hortons.
Fresh hot coffee.
A 2-1 hockey game. Spokane on top. 5:01 to play, first period. I'm Paul Romanoff with Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller at Le Colisée in Quebec City. Championship game of this 1991 Memorial Cup. And the momentum that Drummondville seemed to have at one point slipping away after that last Spokane goal. Murray Garbett after it up in the corner, battling with Dandino. Vanderkraak, number 20, trying to get it loose. That's Garbett bulldozing along the boards, and he comes away with it. Cuts in front. Tried to lift it up. It's flipped wide of the net. LaPerriere can't get it out. Cote shoots it in. Gagnon will boost it off. Desjardins up around the boards. Delayed penalty coming up, and it is going to go against Spokane. A high sticking call, and Drummondville will get a chance to tie it up as they go to work with the man advantage.
Murray Garbett going off for high sticking. Obviously well away from the play, but not well away from the eyes of Luc Miville. Garbett, a big, strong guy who can dominate the boards. You'll see Garbett come up right there, get the butt of his stick right up in the face. The Drummondville player knocking his helmet right off. Murray says hi to the folks at home in Medicine Hat. Key acquisition this year for the Spokane Chiefs. One of 3 big trades they made to help build this team. Gives them size and scoring up front, but right now, he also gives them a one-man disadvantage.
1 for 29 in the tournament. And what a millstone that has been for Drummondville. Denny Chassé moves up to pick it up. Dupre, number 21, up there as well. And he's got his hands full in along the boards, trying to get it loose from Frank Evans. Larsh up there to help out. To Chassé. Chassé cutting in front, shoots. Kidd will smother it.
One of the reasons Spokane comes into this tournament as such a heavy favorite is that if they do break down and if they do allow some shots on net, they've got an outstanding netminder in Trevor Kidd. He has had an up and down season. He's had some injury problems. But once he signed his contract with the Calgary Flames in March, he seemed to gain confidence, and so did his Spokane Chief teammates. And there he has the pads stacked down low, up against the post. Comes up with the save.
Larsh right off the draw, and Kidd is down to stop him. Junker starting back out for Spokane. Minute 27 to go in the power play for Drummondville. And Junker and Jickling, the double J's, just eat up time along the boards. Here comes Larsh. To Chassé, right across in front for Sherwa. He was tied up. Savard charging up, couldn't get the second shot. One minute left in the power play for Drummondville. 3:20 to play, first period. 2-1, Spokane leading. Here comes Brisebois up to take charge, but not for long. .40 seconds left in the man advantage for Drummondville. Everyone back on side. And Brisebois can lead the next assault. Chassé for Brisebois, breaking in. He was hooked up by Falloon. Centers it in front. A bouncing puck. Whitney bats it down and knocks it out. 19 seconds left in the Drummondville man advantage. Guy Laou. Here comes Hugo Prou. Up with Plante. He'll battle Cote. Loose puck at the side. Pekarek jamming at it. Couldn't find an opening. Here's Prou. Penalized player back on. The team's at even strength. Toporowski snowshoeing to center. Gets it up to Falloon. He'll cruise in. Shoots. Rebound in front is picked up by Pekarek. Here comes Plante. Up to Prou. Breaking in. Trying to beat Cote. And there is no way that he was going to beat Cote. Legault floats it in wide. Here's Plante. Garbett now breaking it up for Spokane. And he just clears it down into the Drummondville zone. 1:40 to play in the first period. 2-1, Spokane leading. Alexander Legault, number 4, back there to pick it up for Drummondville. Here's Lafreniere. Gagnon dropping that off for Desjardins. 1:20 to play first period. 2-1 Spokane. Dandino chopping at it. Lafreniere was pressuring him. LaPerriere amongst the helmet. The puck picked up and finally lofted in by Garbett. Thurston after it down and along the boards. Less than a minute to go in the period. Spokane up by a goal. And icing called on the Chiefs with 43 seconds to go in period 1.
Well, the power play not clicking very well, and not all that much going very well for Drummondville at this moment. Started off very slowly, falling behind 1-0. They really picked up the pace, and they started to physically dominate the Spokane Chiefs. Even big Kerry Toporowski, the big defenseman, number 17 for Spokane, was getting bumped off the puck in his own end by some of the smaller Drummondville forwards. And that was a real good sign for them. But whatever John Mel's team was doing in the middle part of the period, they've stopped doing it now, and that is simply they've stopped playing aggressively.
The Chiefs had to lean on Trevor Kidd a little heavily early in this game when Drummondville was applying some pressure, but Kidd answering with a couple of great stops. And that's what the great goaltenders do. Here's Brisebois. Just lifting one in. Here's Tavel. Brisebois charges up. Can't keep the drive alive. Garbett up to Jickling. In with Kroon. Brisebois hustling back in the play. Kroon is up there. Here's Jickling. Up to Tavel with a shot. That's knocked down. Garbett shoots. Scores! Murray Garbett makes it 3-1 for the Chiefs.
Murray Garbett picked up the goal, but it was Mike Kroon who did a good job in front of Pierre Gagnon, running some interference, making it difficult. You'll see Kroon come in, do some good forechecking. Drummondville picking up their men well at this point, but when Tavel moves in from the point, all the Drummondville players seem to shift away from Garbett, and there he fires it by. Kroon standing right in front of the net. Tavel came in from the point, took the shot, and when Tavel took the shot from the point, everybody seemed to turn their back to the puck, moved back towards the net, allowing Garbett to be all alone in the slot. He fired that one right past Gagnon. With only 19 seconds left in the period.
Garbett gets the goal. Tavel and Jickling pick up the assists at 19:41, and Spokane with a 3-1 lead. 10 seconds to play in the opening period. John Clem. Brisebois trying to chase it down. Balloon bumps him, and time will run out in this period. And the Spokane Chiefs doing exactly what they've done to everyone else at this Memorial Cup tournament. Getting off to the quick lead and then just building on it from there.
Wasn't as pretty as it usually is for Spokane, but nonetheless, the score is 3-1 at the end of the first period. And that's exactly where they want to be, having the other team, Pierre Gagnon and the Drummondville Voltigeurs, deep in a hole.
Shots on goal in the first period, 12-9 in favor of the Spokane Chiefs. The score after one period, 3-1 in favor of Spokane. Still a couple of periods to go. Before that, our first intermission. You're watching the 1991 Memorial Cup Championship live on TSN.
Oh, remember, right down the shaft. It's looking nice. Step back.
It's a part of life almost taken for granted. People know Canadian Tire will have the top brands and the low prices. When you think about it, nobody addresses Canada's needs so completely as the more than 400 addresses of Canadian Tire, giving you the time to turn that raw talent into tomorrow's pro.
You know, son, the goalies are the real stars of this game. We could seal the identity of this 91 Hyundai Excel to find out what people thought it was worth.
It's great. handles well.
That's roomy. Is it Japanese?
I'd say about 16,000.
About 13 grand. At least 15,000.
13 something.
More car than you expect, or less than you think. The 1991 XL.
There's banking, and then there's Scotia Banking. We shop in the same stores you do. We know what a dollar buys and how hard it can be to make ends meet. We've got families to raise and taxes to pay, and we worry about nursing the car through another winter just like you. So when we talk to you about Scotiabank services, we're not trying to sell you something you don't need. We're trying to help. Scotiabanking means believing in people and proving it every day.
Welcome back to Le Colisée in Quebec City in the 1991 Memorial Cup Hockey Championship, where Spokane leads Drummondville 3-1 after one. Spokane head coach Brian Maxwell is no stranger to these situations. He's coached in Memorial Cups before, and his team's personality should come as no surprise. In his 8 seasons, Brian Maxwell played for 4 different NHL teams, scored just 18 goals, and racked up 745 penalty minutes. He's a guy who talks tough, walks tough, and in fact is tough, and so is his hockey club. Brian Maxwell has brought the Spokane Chiefs a long way and now has just one more step to take, winning another Memorial Cup.
Brian Maxwell brings a tremendous amount of energy to each and every game he coaches. He's a former NHL player, a former Memorial Cup championship coach with the Medicine Hat Tigers in 1987. The energy he brings to every assignment is the fire that fuels the Chiefs machine.
Well, I'm certainly not low-key. I'd like to maybe drop down every once in a while a little bit more. But no, I get in with the kids. I prepare like I'm playing, and we do it as a group, as I said, and I just get ready to do a job, and as much enthusiasm as possible, as much positive things as possible, and I certainly try to stay away from the negatives as much as possible.
Well, I think that's the thing that characterizes Maxie is his intenseness. We both kind of share a lot of the same sort of things in terms of what has to be done. Both been former players, and I think that's certainly something that Maxie has is great intenseness.
As much as Maxwell likes being a coach and dealing with the players, there are still moments he wishes he could leap over the boards for just a few shifts.
Oh boy, yeah, I wish I was still playing. There's no question about that. It just didn't happen that way, but I've gained a lot of satisfaction from coaching. There's no doubt a lot of nights I'd like to get out there until the great big boys start pounding on each other, and you say, ooh, I'm glad I'm a coach.
The toughest thing about Maxwell and coaching is that he can't control things as much as he could as a player.
Well, I think you still have an awful big part of the hockey game. I think you have to try to correct mistakes quickly on the bench. I think matchups are a big key of success. So probably one of our biggest jobs game day is certainly to get the matchups that we want and people against who we want to get them against. So that's a challenge for a coach. So you pretty much work all day on the game day getting ready, so you are ready, and the kids see that.
The bottom line for Brian Maxwell is that he has fun behind the bench, even if it doesn't always look that way.
Brian Maxwell's having lots of fun so far. His Spokane Chiefs lead 3-1 after one period of play. You're watching the final of the 1991 Memorial Cup live on TSN.
It's one of the most technologically advanced, rigorously tested fluids on Earth. It is today's Quaker State. At Quaker State, we don't just say we're tough, we're tested tough. The big Q is one tough motor oil. Butterball turkey, prepared meats from the deli. Lunchtime, party time, anytime. Butterball for today's active lifestyle. Ask for Butterball prepared meats now at your favorite deli. Any way you slice it, Butterball.
What you want, baby, we got it. What you need, you know we got it. All you really want is a little respect, just a little bit. Respect, just a little bit.
When you want to be treated like a somebody, come to Speedy Muffler King. At Speedy, you'll get a professional repair, a good price, and respect. And Speedy guarantees all three, including the respect.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T, that's what Speedy means to me.
Catch the action. Catch the excitement. Catch the Hawk.
Good plan, Junior.
Bruce Willis is Hudson Hawk.
Presenting dual-textured medicated pads from Clearasil. Featuring a smooth side and a rough side that helps remove and prevent acne pimples. The rough side loosens oil and dirt to help unclog pores. The smooth, absorbent side soaks it up. Why settle for a single textured pad when there's a Clearasil double feature?
All right, there's superstars in action, Hillbilly.
That's right, Gene, right here on All American Wrestling.
See it throughout Canada, right here on TSN.
Watch for WWF Wrestling weekly on TSN.
It was born on the wrong side of the tracks, boxing. It was illegal to begin with. And it's probably been pronounced dead more times than Dracula, and it just keeps coming back and coming back.
But when you have no options, and you have that sort of desperation, hey, if I don't make it here, I'm going nowhere.
At its worst, it's a tough, brutal sport. At its best, it's a beautiful thing to see.
For the Love of the Game, Monday, 8:30 Eastern on TSN.
The National Assembly, a great backdrop in Quebec City for the 1991 Memorial Cup taking place here in La Belle Province. Welcome back to our first intermission. Our guest in the studio is Denis Chassé of Drummondville. Denis, you managed to battle back after Spokane scored the first goal, but they are a very powerful team offensively.
Yeah, but in the first 10 minutes, I think the team have a good chance, and after Spokane, on the other part of the period, Spokane have the best chance.
Tell us about how you react after winning last night over Chicoutimi. Is it hard to come back and play today?
Yeah, a little bit, because it's an emotional game, and a lot of energy lose last night.
What do you have to do now in the second and third periods to get back in this hockey game?
I think in the home zone, play better in the home zone, and try to keep the good line of Spokane out of the zone.
Are you aware of the fact that they're out there? I mean, do you keep a close eye on Whitney and Falloon?
Sorry?
Do you keep a close eye on Whitney and Falloon?
Yeah, the coach says if Whitney and Falloon's on the ice, to try to have a stick on all the time for make sure he not skate like he think.
Finally, tell us about the pressure of playing in the Memorial Cup final in the province of Quebec, where the fans expect so much of you.
Yeah, but it's good for the team. I think the fans is back, and we want to win and try to keep the best.
Denis, thanks very much, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Denis Chassé of Drummondville, our guest in tonight's first intermission. Back with more from the Memorial Cup in just a moment here on TSN.
Gillette presents Sensor, the system, the technology that will change the way you shave forever. Sensor, twin blades set on springs to read your face and respond. Independent suspension to sense and adjust to every curve of your face. No other razor comes close. Gillette Sensor, for the best shave a man can get.
The Industrial Tool Division of Black & Decker presents the industry's best circular saw with the industry's best circular saw offer. This professional palm sander free with every saw cat. The all-new saw cat from Black & Decker. Finally, a cordless drill that just won't quit. The Black & Decker Univolt, with more torque than its leading competitor and more than 100 watts out of power. Only one thing stops the Univolt. The industrial strength Black & Decker Univolt.
Got a second? I want to tell you about your rights. When you bring your General Motors car or truck into any independent body shop, it's your right to specify the make of replacement parts we install. But don't settle for imitation parts. Insist on quality GM bumpers, fenders, side panels, and moldings. Like the sign says, remember, GM parts are fit for your GM vehicle. Now you know your rights.
There are two kinds of people in the world. Those who want to know.
Harvey, these light delight dinners give us their cholesterol and fat levels.
And those who don't.
Delicious.
To those who want to know.
It's right here on the front.
Light Delight puts it out front.
Where we can see them.
For those who don't want to know. Light Delight simply tastes better than ever. McCain Light Delight. The information's on the outside. The taste is on the inside.
Spokane leads Drummondville 3-1 after one period of play in the final of the 1991 Memorial Cup. Time now for the play of the period, brought to you by Air Canada. It comes midway through the period. Carl Thudium with the steal breaks between the two Drummondville defenders and then makes the nice feed over to Murray Garbett, who gets his first of the tournament. It's the go-ahead goal, and it's our play of the period, brought to you by Air Canada, going above and beyond. We'll be back with more. The first intermission from the 1991 Memorial Cup Final in just a moment here on TSN.
People who think all motor oils are the same should have their heads examined. Just look at his head. See the sludge that can build up? The scoring on this piston. And this metal wearing away because someone didn't give their oil a second thought. Well, think about it. And switch to premium Valvoline all climate. Beats every car manufacturer's warranty specs. There's nothing rated higher than Valvoline. Nothing.
Only Sony brings you CD players so advanced they'll even play discs damaged by dust, static, scratches, or rover. Sony CD players for sound you can sink your teeth into.
Spokane gets off to its customary quick start in the first period. Less than a minute in, Mike Jickling moves in and puts the shot by Gagnon. First shot of the game for Spokane goes in and makes it 1-0. From there, though, Drummondville had sustained pressure and it paid off. Gilahu with the shot. The rebound goes to Dave Paquette. There was interference with Trevor Kidd that was uncalled. The goal stands and the game is tied at 1. But then Murray Garbett gets into the act. The nice feed from Thudium sets up his first goal to make it 2-1, and then with just seconds left in the first period, Garbett gets his second of the game as he gets the rebound in the slot and fires it by Gagnon. 2 goals for Garbett are the difference thus far, as Spokane now leads this game 3-1 with 40 minutes, perhaps, left to play. Jickling, Garbett with 2 for Spokane. Paquette responds for Drummondville. Shots on goal 12-10 in favor of the Voltigeurs. And speaking of shots, Jean Amel took a few in the dressing room in that first intermission. He was livid with his team, and he let them know it. Now let's go to the second period. Here's Paul and Bob.
Well, he should be a little bit because there was a definite drop-off in the intensity level. Drummondville taking the game to Spokane. Save for that first Spokane goal, the Voltigeurs really turned the tables. But then, for some reason, the air went leaking out of the attack, and they ended up really being in the bad end of play as the period finished up.
The good news, I suppose, for Drummondville is that of all the teams that are playing Spokane in this Memorial Cup, Drummondville may be the only one equipped to come back from a big deficit. Ray Whitney and Pat Falloon can shoot the lights out, but Drummondville has a very good offense. Much better offense than Sault Ste. Marie and a much better offense than Chicoutimi. As a result, when they're down 3-1, they've got a good opportunity to come back, although I still don't like anybody's chances being down 3-1. Brian Maxwell hustles around the building from the far side to the other side, just in time for them to drop the puck.
And always makes the late entrance. In behind the bench. He's never behind the bench for the national anthem. Always comes out after it's been played. Must be some kind of a superstition. Whatever it is, don't change the luck, as the players say. At this stage of the game, it's worked well for his team. And Gagnon not working well there early. He and Patrice Brisbois getting the wires crossed a little, and we'll get an early face-off down in Drummondville territory.
Well, whatever Jean Hamel had to say between periods didn't really have a lot of impact in the first few moments. Pierre Gagnon and Patrice Brisebois playing Alphonse and Gaston behind the net. Puck very nearly came out and went between Gagnon's legs into the net. Brisebois is down there talking to Gagnon, straightening it out so the same thing doesn't happen again.
Second period just underway, 3-1. Spokane leading Drummondville in the championship game of the 1991 Memorial Cup. I'm Paul Romanoff with Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller at Le Colisée in Quebec City. And here comes Larche. Up ahead, Dupre with Chassé breaking for the net, right in front. Chassé couldn't click on the pass. Larche after it. Balloon back there to break it up. Here's Cam Daniluk. And look out, it's Whitney and Falloon. The shot by Falloon is wide this time. Chassé back the other way. Larche swings in towards the net. Here's Dupre, shoots. Kidd turning that aside. Larche in back of the net, battling to get loose. Evans with it now. And the Chiefs come back out. Again, it's Whitney and Falloon. Whitney augers himself into the ice and loses the puck, and here comes Brisebois back out. That ricochets off the skate of Lafreniere. Here's Brisebois. Up to Desjardins, tips it ahead. Le Brasseur gets the elbow up, moves the puck around. Pekarak trying to get it in front, broken up, and again the Chiefs clear the zone. Kroon up there with Evans and Junker. Legault rubs him out along the boards. Le Brasseur moving it. Can't get it out. Kroon trying to get a face-off. And he will do just that. 18-17 to go in the second period. And Jickling in a little bit of a stare-down contest with Pascal Le Brasseur.
Well, Drummondville gets a little bit of offense going, albeit a very little bit. A nice pass by Denis Chassé to Yannick Dupre, and Dupre fires a low, hard shot, and Trevor Kidd equal to that one. Dupre using the goaltender and using the defenseman, Frank Evans as a screen, and Trevor Kidd right between the lines was able to steer that one off.
Chassé with a couple of game winners. Likes to play it tough, too. He had 246 penalty minutes this year.
He had a hat trick the last time these two teams met, but it was 7-3 for Spokane.
Here's Dandeneau. Up for Paquette. Toporowski breaks that up. Here's Bart Cote. And that pass up over two lines. Face-off will go back into Spokane territory.
Eric Dandeneau will be doing some good work on the line tonight with Ian LaPerriere. He'll be doing some excellent forechecking. Dandeneau is a guy who really likes to plant himself right at the edge of the crease and try and distract the goalie. Now, he hasn't been doing a lot of that with Trevor Kidd. It's difficult for the Drummondville forwards. Dandeneau, who of course plays defense some of the time, but in this tournament he has been playing up on the right wing. Difficult because Trevor Kidd is such a big goaltender. He can physically move those forwards out of the spot.
Icing called in Spokane. What a matchup of goaltenders you have in this game. You have Gagnon, the small man, and then you have Trevor Kidd, who's a fairly big goaltender, as you pointed out. And Kidd much more durable in that regard. He can take the crashing and bashing around the net, whereas a guy like Gagnon, the book is, you can wear him down if you keep going to the net heavily.
And that's why Trevor Kidd's such a good prospect for the NHL, and Pierre Gagnon is not considered a top prospect for the National Hockey League. Calvin Thudium, a man who made one of those Murray Garbett goals possible, heads off the ice.
Vandercrash moving it up ahead. He'll chase after it now, hot on the heels of Legault. Not for long. Icing waved off. Toporowski, number 17, back to pick it up. LaPerriere watching him. Dandeneau comes up too. Pass was behind Paquette, and it's Garbett. Thudium gets it down into the corner. Legault, bumped by Garbett. Garbett couldn't chop it away from him. Here's Thudium now. Back for Garbett. He's got Junker in front. trying to wrap it around. Loose puck is picked up, and Dandino starts back out for Drummondville. 2-on-1 with Paquette. Dandino. And Kidd is out to cut down the angle. There was just nowhere to put it.
The newly named Minister of Youth, Fitness, and Amateur Sport has all three elements here at the Memorial Cup. Pierre, could you welcome, and what do you think of your first Memorial Cup?
Well, I think it's quite exciting. As my first more or less official event as Minister of Sports, I'm really pleased to be here. I think it's a good game.
Now, after some of the portfolios you've held in the past, this must be a joy to have.
Well, it's certainly very pleasant to be here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the end of the game. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go back upstairs to Paul and Bob.
Slide up on the face-off for Drummondville against Ray Whitney. Through with a quick shot. Kidd bats it away. The rebound. Jutra bashing through. Can't get the shot. Here's Junker now. Up for Falloon. Whitney leads the attack into the corner now. Here's Whitney. Falloon back there. Centers it in front. And Gagnon with a sharp save off of Steve Junker. Back comes Prue. Jutra bumping Lafreniere. Junker. Waiting for the help to come up. Drops it off there for Falloon. Nowhere to go. Throws it into Whitney. Up for Junker. Jutra tying him up. Falloon moves in. And he is in turn tied up. Here's Junker. To Whitney. No position to shoot. Back into Falloon. Whitney again. And the Chiefs so good at working the puck around in close quarters. .50 to play in the second period. 3-1. Spokane leading Drummondville. All three of Spokane's goals coming in the first period. Mike Jickling with one and Murray Garbett with a pair. Jickling with a shot here. Gagnon the save. Rebound in front. Bouncing over a couple of sets of sticks. Finally cleared up. Here's Larsh. Lehoux hands it away. Kroon waits for Jickling to get onside. Didn't wait long enough. The Chiefs are called on the offside. You're watching the Memorial Cup on TSN.
Introducing the new standard of high performance, the Supreme Custom 3000 by Bauer.
Last time an American team won the Memorial Cup, 1983, the Winter Hawks. General manager Brian Shaw, coach Ken Hodge, and Mike Vernon, picked up from the Calgary Wranglers, was a star, very controversial star back in the days when you could still pick up a player. In fact, if I remember correctly, Mike Vernon was the tournament MVP in that game.
Tavel trying to wire one in. Here's John Clem. Patrice Brisebois. Denny Chassé starts back. Gets it in over the blue line. Clem will chase it down. And Chassé up to chase him down. Icing called on Spokane.
Murray Garbett, Patrice Brisebois mixing it up in front of the net, sliding off to the side. Garbett having a very good game so far, 2 goals. Ray Whitney and Pat Falloon done some dancing out there, but they haven't really produced anything. They, between them in the first period, had 3 shots. Didn't figure in any of the scoring at the beginning of the first period.
Do you think Patrice Brisebois is playing his final game in the Canadian Junior Hockey League?
Well, there's no question about that. He'll be either with the Fredericton Canadians, the American Hockey League next year, or perhaps a long shot to be with the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal going with a very young defense. you wouldn't think there'd be any more room for another rookie. But at the same time, if you were to go into training camp and dislodge a 1 or 2 year man, it's always a possibility as well. Well, watch him the rest of this game. He is a guy who generates a lot of offense, as does Roger Larche, who, by the way, has to have one of the shortest sticks I've ever seen. I was just watching in the warm-up, and they took a stick. Look at that, it looks like a toothpick.
Referee calling to move it, and finally we get a stoppage and another face-off down in Spokane territory. Speaking of sticks, the Spokane Chiefs called in their last game for having an illegal stick, and this morning during practice, Coach Brian Maxwell had the players get out the stick measuring tool, and everyone measured his stick. He didn't want to have that happen at a crucial moment in this game.
I talked to the Drummondville trainer before the game. He said before every playoff game, before every Memorial Cup game, he personally has to take the stick gauge and go right through the whole rack so that there cannot be an illegal stick on the bench.
And actually, the part of the stick that was illegal the other night when the penalty was called against Spokane wasn't the curve of the blade, which is normally what you're caught on, but actually the width of the blade.
I liked it after the stick measurement was made, and I saw Pat Falloon on the bench, and in went the game stick, and out came another one from the bench. Brian Maxwell not too happy with the way the line changes are working. He should have the last change. He doesn't think he's getting it.
Spokane, the home team technically in this game, and so they get last change. Junker going in deep, trying to beat Brisebois. They clash down in the corner. Here's Falloon now. The big circle centers it in front. Gagnon bats it away. Bouchard up for Dandino. Couldn't knock it down. Brisebois. Up for Dandino again. Cote couldn't knock it down. Le Brasseur. And LaPerriere. Here comes Falloon back in. And back behind the play over in front of the Drummondville bench, Kerry Toporowski was doing some jousting with number 32, David Pekarek. And Toporowski can just joust his way over to the penalty box. He's going to be called for roughing.
Toporowski, no stranger to danger, gets into it with David Pekarek. Comes in with a hit. Pekarek gets his elbow up. They start jousting. Bad news for Spokane. Pat Falloon is breaking down the ice on an offensive opportunity with Toporowski. They learn to live with Toporowski. They love his roughness. They love his toughness. 505 penalty minutes in the regular season, not including game misconducts. Would have had 805 minutes. He's already set a Memorial Cup playoff record for most penalty minutes, up to 57 in this tournament.
His teammates kept track of his fights during the season. Toporowski was 96 for 96.
Well, Tyson Reddick's off, but perhaps Tyson Toporowski?
Pride of Paddockwood, Saskatchewan. So Drummondville with a chance in the power play, and a chance maybe to put some spark into a game that has waned just a little bit since the first period.
It doesn't matter who's home ice, who's not home ice, because right now these fans aren't even in the game. You wouldn't know that they're partial to Drummondville Voltigeurs, and the Quebec's going for his first Memorial Cup in 20 years.
LaPerriere moving up, can't get there in time, and Junker gets it past Leou. 1:26 left in the power play for Drummondville. Prue gets it in back of the net. LaPerriere trying to battle Evans. Here's Jickling now, bumped along the boards by Dandino. Evans will pick it up. His defensive partner Bart Cote does the honors. 1:05 to go in the power play for Drummondville. 13 minutes to play in the second period. It is 3-1, Spokane on top. And here comes Falloon, short-handed. Shoots. And that's knocked down by Gagnon.
Falloon and Whitney, very dangerous penalty killing. 10 goals, 9 goals respectively during the regular season shorthanded.
Prue gets up into the corner for Larche. 40 seconds left in the power play for Drummondville. Prue trying to cut in front. Larche spun around. Can't get the shot away. Back to Brisebois. Into Prue. He can't handle it. And it's belted down the ice. by John Clem.
Fans starting to get on the Drummondville Voltigeurs. Can't get anything going on the power play. And perhaps they're running into the same problem the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds ran into, lack of emotion.
Larsh with his shot. That's blocked by Clem. Loose puck, Larsh getting it back to Legault. 12 seconds left in the power play. Chassé goes after it. Tried to get it in front. Larsh up there forechecking. Here's Legault with a clear shot, and he whips on that one. Penalized player back on as Whitney leads in the rush. Looking for Falloon, but that is broken up. Here's Larsh. Comes in with Chassé. Looking to get it in front, and Lafreniere really had a grip on Chassé. That's fired through the crease wide. Back comes Maitland. Lafreniere. Up for Thurston. Lafreniere trailing. He's got it now. In close quarters, gets it back into Thurston. Back out for Lafreniere. He'll dish off to Maitland. That shot ricocheting wide. Rebound in front. Maitland closing in. He overskated it. And out come the Volts. Chassé. In with Larsh. And that is broken up. Thurston breaking back. Comes in with Zoke. And Gagnon will hang on to it with Zoke charging hard.
Celebrating a 10-year association with the Memorial Cup is Molson Breweries, and Norm Webb, the manager of sports, joined us now, and it's been another great week, hasn't it?
It certainly has, Gord. The Memorial Cup gets better and better from our standpoint. It's great to be involved. Great entertainment. Quebec City's been a great host this year.
Tell us about next year in Seattle. I assume we'll see you there next year as well?
Yes, you too, I hope. We're looking forward to it. We sell some Molson products down there as well, so we're looking forward to it very much.
All right, Norm, thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the game.
Thank you.
Back upstairs.
.10:59 to play, second period. 3-1 the score. Spokane on top. Kerry Toporowski. Being watched by Pekarek. Here's Pekarek with a shot wide. Kidd batting it in back of the net. Pekarek up there throwing his weight around. Here's Vanderkrat. Charrois now. Doesn't have a clean shot, just banking it in off the glass. Thudium will pick it up. Murray Garbutt going after, number 22 for Spokane. Pulls Charrois down. Jutra breaks in. Pekarek shoots. Jutra going after the rebound. Here's Pekarek. Back of the net, centers it in front. Nobody home. Brisebois picks it up now. He'll lead the rush. Lots of room. Kidd the save. Rebound. Toporowski will get a handle on it. And the puck cleared up over the glass. And we'll get a stoppage with 9:52 to play in the second period. Spokane leading 3-1.
Trevor Kidd comes up big on Patrice Brisebois. Brisebois finally one of the first players on Drummondville to get anything going in this second period. Just took matters into his own hands, raced up the ice. He will do this a lot. He's a risk taker. He's a gambler. And in this case, he just blows by everybody, steps over and gets a good shot from the high slot. Trevor Kidd not only makes the save, but does a good job of bouncing it out and away, and Kerry Toporowski takes it into the corner. Brisebois is a guy who will generate a lot of offense from the point for Drummondville. In fact, all the Drummondville defensemen capable of going at any time. Alexander Legault will rush up, as will Martin Charrois, Stéphane Desjardins. They'll all make the move. That's one of the reasons they're such a multi-dimensional team on offense, and one of the reasons they might be able to come back here.
Just past the halfway point of regulation time in this game. And Spokane cruising with a 3-1 lead. Lehoux clearing it in. Rebound that Paquette couldn't get to. Thumping Clem down on the corner. Laperriere, number 14, after it. Gets the elbows up with Jickling. Laperriere still. Kroon just kicking it to Clem. Back up for Kroon. Here comes Jickling. He'll come in, top of the slot. Can't get the shot on goal. Paquette starts back the other way. He's up there with Laperriere. Just throws it down into the corner. Tavel trying to get rid of it. Here's Evans now. Up to Thurston. Paquette knocks it down. Can't get it past Tavel, pushes him out of the way. And here's Frank Evans. Delayed penalty coming up. It is going to go against Drummondville. Here's Whitney moving in. Thurston to Whitney. Kenya makes the save. And he better get ready to face some more action because Spokane is going in the power play.
Rock and roll is okay, but I prefer rap.
Awesome. Wait a second. Shady Acres was supposed to get the Coke, and the frat house was supposed to get the Pepsi.
Coke, Pepsi, what's the difference?
I-24.
Pepsi, it's got what it takes.
This is radical.
Ian LaPerriere gets a roughing penalty, fencing with Mike Kroon in front of the net. LaPerriere jumped off the ice, a delayed penalty in effect, and Whitney managed to get the puck up to Thurston, back to Whitney, and Whitney gets a shot and then gets plowed over by Eric Dandeneau.
So it's Spokane on the power play with 8:36 to play in the second period. They lead 3-1. Here's Evans. Evans working it around, back to Junker. Trying to sneak in close, has to turn back. And that pass just tipped by Roger Larche. He turns on the Jets. Larche, one of the fastest players in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, made it a race. Back comes Falloon. Races in. Almost poked it past Gagnon. It's like the puck is stuck to his stick when Falloon gets in close. That puck cleared up over the glass. 1:26 to go on the power play for Spokane. 8:01 to play in the second period.
Well, they don't have much to show for it so far in the game, Whitney and Falloon. But here they started. Play starts way back with Trevor Kidd, a long pass. And watch Falloon dance around here. Great shifts, great puck control. Just dances around the defenseman. Comes in a good poke check by Pierre Gagnon. Just such a dangerous player, such a joy to watch too. These are the kind of guys you pay good money to go and see, and they don't disappoint you. You see moves like that. Right of Fox Warren, Manitoba.
And did he ever help bury the Greyhounds? Had a big game against them. Here's Falloon. Whitney. Up to Falloon. Shoots. And Jutro will start back. Short-handed for Drummondville. And he's content to just bomb it in from long range. 1 minute to go on the power play for Spokane. 7:34 to play, second period. Falloon gets in, centered it across in front. Garbett couldn't knock the pass down. Whitney clears it in. Falloon back into the play. Right between the two defensemen, Clem and Whitney. 40 seconds left in Spokane's man advantage. Pat Falloon. In front, Whitney shoots. Gagnon the save, trying to get a grip on it. And they'll pile up around the crease, but Gagnon able to hang on.
Ray Whitney cruising through the slot. Takes the pass from Pat Falloon. Gets a shot on net. Cam Daniluk almost banged in. Whitney, a good move to get onto the backhand. Daniluk running interference, and the puck is laying at the side of Gagnon's pads. And Daniluk tries to come back and knock that one in. You see a little interference run by Daniluk, the backhand by Falloon. Patrice Brisbois comes up against Daniluk, and they joust at the side of the net. They almost got something going there. Last time these two teams met, more than 200 minutes in penalties. Something of a slugfest last Sunday afternoon.
Well, Gagnon's been busy, and Trevor Kidd looks like he's waiting for the old 8:15.
Not quite as Ken Dryden-esque pose, but not far off the mark either.
Evans moves in, shoots. Rebound off the glass and onto the mesh, and that draws a quick whistle from referee Luc Neville.
Hockey really is a game of inches. We saw it there when the puck came off the backboard. It lodged just inside the back of the post up against the mesh. Another inch to the right. It would have been coming back. Good work on the draws. Spokane dominating the draws tonight. And Evans fakes the shot, comes in, fires it way high and wide. And there you see it land right on the back of the mesh at the side of the net.
Maybe one of the only cases where the rebound was a lot closer to the target than the initial shot. That shot might have landed somewhere in Drummondville. It was high and wide. Cote. Looking to the front of the net. He's got Junker sneaking in. Trying to work the tic-tac-toe with Jickling. Cote still. To Jickling. Back to Cote. All the way back to Evans. Junker cuts in front. Loose puck. Kroon with a shot. That bounces wide. Good pressure by the Chiefs. Penalized player is back on. Teams all even up. Look at the traffic in front. Gagnon's down, and he's down on all fours to smother it. There's no way he could have seen the shot.
Mike Kroon came racing out from the side, fired it in amongst all the bodies, never did make it into the net. Pierre Gagnon stood his ground. Then Kroon and Junker from Spokane got involved in a pushing match. Here's Kroon coming out from the corner. He just tries to drive this through all the bodies in front. Gagnon falls down, and then Kroon takes a shot. They followed it up. Kroon and LaPerriere going off, exchanging some words. Junker picks up the only penalty on the play. Thought at first it was going to be offsetting penalties, but Junker, the left winger on the line with Ray Whitney and Pat Falloon, heads off for 2 minutes. Drummondville gets an opportunity here to get back in this hockey game. If nothing else, they need to get a good power play, generate some offensive opportunities, and get some much-needed momentum going here, because right now they're asleep, this crowd is asleep. This game is about as exciting as watching paint dry.
6:22 to go in the second period.
And if they don't get some emotion going here, Paul, Whitney and Falloon will take them apart on the penalty killing. They haven't clicked yet, but they're playing with a lot more spark and excitement than are the Drummondville Voltigeurs.
Well, here's a guy who can spark you in a game, Patrice Brisbois, and he leads in the rush. Dishes off to Roger Larche. For Chassé, in there with a shot. Kidd the save. It's not out. Brisbois shoots. Kidd stops that one too. Chassé after the rebound to Larche. In back of the net. Dupré picks it up. Drummondville with a little bit of pressure, landing a couple of shots on goal. Tavel can't get it out. Dupré there to knock it down. Brisbois there to save it at the line. Muscling his way up, dumps off to Chassé. Back to Brisbois. Shoots. Kidd the save. They crash the front of the net. Here's Lehoux with a shot. Bounces just wide. Larche picks it up. Pressure still on. Chassé's up there. Dupré rams it in front. Falloon there to pick it up and burst that offensive thrust by Drummondville.
Some good chances, but when Drummondville really needed it, all three of their forwards were behind the net. Puck came out in front. Nobody there.
Plante coming in. Crew to Plante. He still got it. Shooting. What a stop by Kidd.
That play didn't happen. It unfolded. Eric Plante just stood there. Nobody came at him. Finally, just wheeled around, waited and waited, and found himself one-on-one with Trevor Kidd. They gained the blue line nicely here. Plante moves in. Hugo Prue dishes it off to him. You'll see the defensive player fell down, and all alone, and Trevor Kidd comes up with a big save. And finally, some sustained pressure. Kenny Chassé comes through, keeps his play going by knocking Trevor Kidd off his feet. A good chance for Plante.
41 seconds left in the power play for Drummondville. Savard at the line. He and Legault keep it in. Not this time, though. 30 seconds left in the man advantage for the Bolts. 4:50 to go in the second period. 3-1, Spokane leading. All of the scoring taking place in the first period. And that pass up over 2 lines. Offside called, and the Voltigeurs face-off will go back into their end.
It seems to be a very difficult task for Drummondville to crank up the emotion today. They seem to be playing without the spark they had in last night's game against Chicoutimi, a game that went into overtime. And I alluded earlier to the Sault Ste. Marie syndrome, and that is simply you win a big series against the Oshawa Generals, you gear up for it, and then you come to the Memorial Cup, you just seem to have peaked and don't have too much left. The Memorial Cup for the Drummondville Voltigeurs may well have been last night's game against Chicoutimi in overtime, just as Sault Ste. Marie's Memorial Cup was against the Oshawa Generals.
Pekarek trying to poke it loose. And great job of penalty killing by Murray Garbett. Yeoman service all the way along the boards. He's still got it. The penalized player is back on for Spokane, and the team's at even strength. And there's Junker with a big chance, and that's knocked away. Junker right out of the penalty box and into the attack, and now Plante leads the attack back. Here's Prue to Plante. Big stop, rebound in front, knocked away. Here's a chance for Legault, shoots, and Garbett was there to save the day. What a shift for number 22, Murray Garbett. Almost scores at one end and thwarts a great scoring chance back at the other. Dandeneau. Laperriere loose. That's flipped in by Legault and knocked away. 3:40 to play, second period. 3-1 hockey game. And here comes Falloon, trying to make it 4-1. Walks in, right in front to Dandelock, and he couldn't click. Here's Whitney, poked off of his stick. And back behind the play, down on the ice for Drummondville is number 23, Stéphane Desjardins. He took a chop to the leg down in front of his goaltender.
Desjardins down on the ice. I have to believe that it was from the stick of Pat Falloon, although I'd want to see that again. Falloon was the only man coming back from that area. Desjardins had really hammered Falloon into the boards. Falloon made a nice pass over to Cam Dandelock. The puck went behind Dandelock. He was unable to convert it. Desjardins took Falloon and rode him into the boards and rode him hard. Coming back down the ice, something obviously happened between the two of them. I just saw Falloon skating away and Desjardins going down into a heap.
And watch the right-hand side of your screen. That's where the infraction is going to take place. Looks like a slash right to the back of the knee. And the man you see moving away is Pat Falloon.
Pat Falloon, the face of an angel?
Don't know that there's enough evidence there to convict him in court. We didn't quite see it all, but guilty by association. He was the closest man to Desjardins when he dropped to the ice.
Trevor Kidd comes up with a great save. Hugo Prue. Backhand, and it's right there. He's got his back turned to the plate. It's not very often you'll see a goaltender with his back. The number's facing out, but it wasn't that situation. But as so often happens, the Spokane defense there to pick up that puck. Momentary break allows the Drummondville fans to get the wave going. They're finally starting to get back into this hockey game a little bit. Their team would like to get back into the game with perhaps a goal. 3:23 left in the period, down 3-1. Not a whole heck of a lot of emotion on that bench. Spokane quite content to play things along as they are. They've got a 2-1 lead. They can break it open at any moment in time.
Hold on to your chair. Don't get seasick following the wave around. Lafreniere had it tapped away. Here's Junker. Whitney sees the hole, but couldn't get through quickly enough. Laperriere up to Dandeneau. Lafreniere. Lots of room to move it in. Lafreniere still spins all the way in front. The pass was behind Falloon. Evans up to Falloon now. Pulling away from Paquette. Falloon moves up, and that one is tipped way up over the glass and out of play.
In the game of hockey, as in life, success comes when solid offense is balanced by superior defense. That's why Transamerica Life offers Canadians a solid lineup of investment products, balanced by innovative, affordable life insurance. For over 60 years, Canadians have counted on Transamerica Life for balance. Call your Transamerica representative for all the financial security you need. Transamerica Life sponsors the major Junior A Hockey Plus Minus Awards.
Kidd and Gagnon, both only moderately busy in this second period. Kidd had to make some great stops in the first period, and he's made a couple of sharp ones here in the second, too. But it hasn't exactly been an offensive feast in period number 2.
This is likely Trevor Kidd's last game as a junior, bound next year for either the Calgary Flames or the Canadian Olympic team, one of the two.
Tavel with a shot in. Talking to Tim Speltz, the general manager of the Spokane Chiefs. He's optimistic that maybe they'll get Trevor Kidd back next year.
I wouldn't count on it, but you never know. It's more wishful thinking than anything else.
Here's Thurston charging up, tried to sneak it across in front. John Clem back at the line. Unloads one in. Gagnon, big rebound in front to Jickling with a shot. Here's Jickling. Brisebois will pick it up now. And Chassé is away. He's got Larsh with him. Chassé trying to barge his way in, takes the back door, centers it right in front. Rolling puck is picked up, and Thurston will clear the zone ever so calmly. .135 to play in the second period. 3-1, Spokane leading. All the scoring in the first period. Jickling had one for Spokane. Garbutt had a pair. Paquette scored for Drummondville. Here's Denis Chassé. Up ahead for Larsh. Zilk with a nice move to pull loose. Gathering speed down the side. Zilk in deep. Slams it on and then had nowhere else to go. And we'll get a face-off down in Drummondville territory with 1 minute and 3 seconds to play in this second period.
No goals at all, no offense in this period. The natives are getting a little restless.
Well, at least some of the fans are making some noise. Doing their best to entertain themselves. A second period that has been very close checking for the most part and void of big offensive opportunities.
Spokane is a very funny team that way. They seem to let you get as close as you think you want to be, and then they'll just blow the doors off you in the third period. They've done that. Sault Ste. Marie fell behind 5-0. Rallied for a couple of goals, looked like they were back in the game, and then Spokane just iced it in the third. They've basically done that against every team they've played. There's no question they're the best team here until someone proves otherwise. And right now, Drummondville's not doing that.
Less than a minute to go in the second period. Jutra up to Brisebois. Trying to deke his way in. Crew almost pulled through in front. Balloon back there to break it up and settle things down for Spokane. Junker comes in with Balloon and Whitney. Whitney wide open, deep in the slot, almost out near the blue line. Guilaou gets it up around the boards. Whitney steals it, cutting in front. Whitney taps it through. Gagnon smothers it. And Whitney with a great job to tap that puck through a maze of sticks and skates to Pat Balloon.
Ray Whitney gets a lucky bounce off the boards, but then manages to stay with it, and the puck ends up coming back, most miraculously, to Pat Balloon in front of the net. Pierre Gagnon makes the save. And you know, the Spokane Chiefs love to break early, break from the gate, and score and rack up a lead. They also love to bury you with a goal late in the period. We saw that in the first period. Murray Garbutt scored with 11 or 19 seconds left. So it was 19 seconds. And in this period, they come very close with 26 of making it a 4-1 game. And Drummondville's got to be very careful in this final 26 not to let up.
Clem with a shot, scores! John Clem scoring with 21 seconds to go in the second period. You called it.
John Clem gets it back. You can hear somebody yelling, shoot, shoot. And he did. But watch Murray Garbutt, who's already got 2 goals, go to the net. Number 22 will stand right in front of Pierre Gagnon. And when this shot comes through, Gagnon can't see it at all. Gagnon looked to his defenseman, shrugged his shoulders, and says, I can't stop him if I can't see him. And John Clem, the captain, just fires a high one up over the stick of Pierre Gagnon. And these guys will kill you late, they'll kill you early, and in between, they may lull you to sleep.
Well, Murray Garbutt scored at 19:41 of the first period with the late goal. John Clem scores at 19:39 of the second period. Mike Jickling picks up the only assist on that goal. 4-1 Spokane as time ticks down in the second period. 5 seconds to go. And Drummondville with the daunting task of having to come back against the best junior hockey team in the country and overcome a 3-goal deficit in the final period.
Well, if Jean Hamel was livid with his Drummondville team at the first intermission, who knows what he's going to say in the second? Because if anything, they were even worse. There was very few redeeming qualities for the Drummondville Voltigeurs, and for Trevor Kidd and the Spokane Chiefs, business as usual, scoring in the last minute of the period, taking a 3-goal lead into the third period, and almost challenging you to come after them, prevent them from winning this year's Memorial Cup.
Second intermission coming up. Here's Gord Miller.
And coming up in our second intermission, we'll go back to our TSN Control Center for a sports update, and Bob McKenzie checks in with the final edition of Bob's Notebook for the season. After 2 periods of play, it's Spokane leading Drummondville 4-1. You're watching the final of the 1991 Memorial Cup live on TSN.
Presenting Surviving the Munchies, a teenager's guide. Number 1, know the munchies, a hunger that hits below the belt. Number 2, know that number 1 can't be sweet talked by chocolate or candy, whipped by licorice, crumbled by cookies, and sorry kids, mom's cake just won't cut it. No, the only way to crunch the munchies is with a fresh, crisp Hostess potato chip. 'Cause when you got down munchies, nothing else will do.
Hostess potato chips.
And remember, be careful out there.
When you find something in life that works as well or lasts as long as a John Deere lawn and garden tractor, buy it.
Okay, stay with me here. This is a tire. This is a tune-up. Your Goodyear certified auto service retailer does both, and very well, I might add. So if you say tire, he'll show you one of these. If you say tune-up, he'll hook your car up to this. you know, whatever this is. But don't worry, he knows what it is, and isn't that the important thing here?
From tune-ups to tires, Goodyear takes you home.
I'd take you home, but, you know, I'm getting a tune-up and a tire.
Next presenter is Michael Carlson.
So much to me from the moment I saw you. I knew we'd always be friends. Dad, I love you. This is for my dad. Dad, I've loved you from the first moment I saw you. And I got the pictures to prove it. That's his photography.
Spokane scores the only goal of the second period and now leads by 3 with 1 period to play in the final of the 1991 Memorial Cup. Now let's go to our TSN Control Center for a sports update.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to TSN Control. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final is just underway in Bloomington. No score so far between the North Stars and Pittsburgh Penguins. The best-of-7 series is tied up at 1 going into tonight's game. And the Toronto Blue Jays wrapped up their 3-game series in Chicago this afternoon against the White Sox. Todd Stottlemyre has gotten off to a tremendous start this season. Going into today's game, he was 5-0 with a 2.93 ERA. So Cito Gaston and the Jays were hoping to take 2 out of 3 from Chicago. Toronto led 3-1 after 2, but in the third, Matt Marullo fists one. Manny Gonzalez bare hands up a throws low to first. Lance Johnson scores. John Olerud's throw home is wild. So that allows Frank Thomas to score. An ugly play by the Jays. That ties it up at 3. Top of the 5th, Olerud makes up for his errant throw. He crushes one deep to right. And his home run number 5 for Olerud. And the Jays go ahead 4-3. Mark Whitten, the next batter. Jack McDowell throws behind him. Whitten takes exception. He decks him. So then the bench is clear. And the fight is on. McDowell ended up with a bad welt around the left eye. He had to leave the game, and Whitten was ejected. So once they got it sorted out, Todd Stottlemyre throws some chin music to big Frank Thomas, but he does keep his cool.
See, now here comes Thorborn because it really...
Later on in the inning, Marullo lines a single to right. Robin Ventura tries to score. Kenny Williams throws home, and Ventura bowls over Borders. So they pick him up and dust him off. He's okay. Some old-time baseball at New Comiskey Park, and Chicago edges the Jays by a score of 5-4. Was homer number 5 on the year for John Olerud, and Bobby Thigpen came up with his 8th save. Now on to Arlington, Texas. The Rangers hosting Boston. Top of the 2nd now. Mike Marshall is at second base when Luis Rivera hooks one to the left field corner. So Marshall comes around to score, and Boston led 3-0 after 1.5. But Texas stormed back. Mike Stanley leads off the bottom of the 2nd with a solo shot to left. And this one puts Texas on the board. Next batter up, Steve Buechele. He cranks one to left. Back-to-back homers for Texas. And this one ties the score up at 3 after 2. In the 3rd inning, Boston falls apart. Tom Bernansky plays this fly ball like a designated hitter. Bernansky's blunder opens the floodgates to a 11-4 win for Texas. Homers for Mike Stanley, Steve Buechele, and Julio Franco. And this one went into 13 innings, but the Expos won it by a score of 5-4. Well, now we'll take you back to the Memorial Cup, and here is Gord Miller.
Beautiful Quebec City in the 1991 Memorial Cup, where Spokane leads 4-1. After 2 periods of play, we're back with more in our second intermission in just a moment on TSN.
In trying to make an artistic statement, one should be careful not to let one's personal aroma do the talking. In order not to offend the critics, I recommend Right Guard Sport, the stick that provides maximum protection and the freshest scents, a sublime palette of odoriferous emanations. After all, a true artiste should be remembered for his inspiration, not his perspiration odor. Right Guard Sport. Anything less would be uncivilized.
Catch the action. Catch the excitement. Catch the Hawk. Good plan, Junior. Bruce Willis is Hudson Hawk.
You always hurt the one you love.
People have a love-hate relationship with their cars. They love them, but they don't always treat them right. And like all Subarus, the new Legacy Turbo was built to take a lot of loving, which is one very good reason the automobile journalists voted Subaru Family Sedan of the Year again. The king bee gets the honey.
All right, don't miss the great action on Canadian sport fishing each week on TSN, the Sports Network.
Spokane leads by 3 after 2 periods of play in the final of the 1991 Memorial Cup. Well, the scrapbook, or the notebook, is almost full, and Bob McKenzie has one more page to add. Here is the final installment of Bob's notebook for the season.
And not too much being written in the notebook in terms of this game, so we thought we would flip back a little bit and talk about some of the highlights and lowlights of this 1991 Memorial Cup Championship. I suppose in terms of highlights, you have to start and stop with some brilliant goaltending displays.
Yeah, especially by Felix Potvin and the Chicoutimi Saguenayens. An outstanding effort in last night's game. 55 shots against the Drummondville Voltigeurs, and just it was criminal the way that the game was lost, at least for Potvin and defenseman Steve Goslin, who put the puck in his own net. But it wasn't the only good game for Potvin. Potvin was brilliant in a game against Sault Ste. Marie. That was the reason that the Chicoutimi Saguenayens went on to beat the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, a 2-1 game. And he's been a real revelation to a lot of people who haven't seen a lot of him this year. And now we understand why he's the best goalie in Canadian Major Junior Hockey.
What do you hear when you talk to general managers and NHL coaches? Do they think Potvin is the best junior hockey goaltender in this country, or Trevor Kidd? What is the consensus?
I think a lot of the people that have seen him this week are firm believers now, and if they weren't already, that he is #1, that he is the best goaltender right now. He's proven on a consistent basis. Trevor Kidd was an outstanding goaltender on a bad hockey team last year in Brandon. Had the trade, came over, had some injury problems, some other, but all the way through the playoffs, Trevor Kidd's been brilliant too, with a goals against average under 2 and a save percentage over .950.
Another highlight from the notebook and from this week at the Memorial Cup Championship, I guess the official end of the Eric Lindros era, when he was proclaimed as the Canadian Junior Hockey League Player of the Year at the awards ceremony on Monday night.
Well, a lot of people are looking at it at the end of an era. I'm looking at it more at the beginning of an era. It is now Eric Lindros moving to a new arena, having to prove himself all over again. You know, Eric Lindros has had an awful lot of media attention. There's been a lot of speculation about this or that. It's only going to intensify from here on in terms of the media attention, especially all the speculation about what's going to happen at the National Hockey League draft on June 22nd in Buffalo. I think that you'll see Quebec take him, but will Eric Lindros take Quebec? He's already rejected one draft in the past, that being the midget draft with Sault Ste. Marie. Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds traded his rights to the Oshawa Generals and ended up in this Memorial Cup directly as a result of that transaction. Be interesting to see whether the Quebec Nordiques are put in the situation having to do the same thing, or whether they play hardball with Eric Lindros, assuming that for any reason he wouldn't want to go to Quebec.
Quickly, any lowlights?
Well, there was one, certainly the Spokane game against Drummondville, Spokane game against Chicoutimi, more than 200 plus penalty minutes. It wasn't exactly the way you want to see Memorial Cup hockey played, but all things considered, it's been a pretty good tournament.
That is it for this edition, the final edition of Bob's Notebook. Here's Gord Miller.
All right, thanks very much, gentlemen. We've got more coming in our second intermission. It's Spokane leading by 3. Back with more from the 1991 Memorial Cup in just a moment.
Headaches. I know headaches. The worst headaches. You talk to your brother and 10 different guys talk back. So I use Anacin. It's not complicated. Anacin has just the amount of medicine I want. Not too much, not too little. And as I said, Anacin works on even my worst headaches.
Well, I like that, Pilgrim.
People who think all motor oils are the same should have their heads examined. Just look at his head. See the sludge that can build up? The scoring on this piston. And this metal wearing away because someone didn't give their oil a second thought. Well, think about it. And switch to premium Valvoline all climate. Beats every car manufacturer's warranty specs. There's nothing rated higher than Valvoline. Nothing.
When you're busy being a mom and chauffeur, the last thing you're thinking about is your brakes, right? But if something told you they weren't right, would you know where to go? You don't want to trust them to just anybody. So you go to Midas. Free 49-point brake inspection, trained experts, written estimate, the famous Midas guarantee. And nice people.
Morning, Murray.
That really look after you. When it comes to brakes, nobody tops the Top Guns. Nobody.
The Spokane Chiefs are 20 minutes away from capturing the Memorial Cup. Time now for the TSN play of the period, brought to you by Longines Whitnauer. Trevor Kidd, well out of his goal, starts his play, and the Spokane Chiefs show outstanding puck movement. Watch them work it around as Ray Whitney will get it to Pat Falloon. And Falloon very nearly scores here before he's poke checked by Gagnon. A coast-to-coast play is our TSN play of the period. Coast to Coast, brought to you by Longines Wittnauer, superb jewelry that tells time. Back with more from the Colisée in Quebec City in a moment.
For 5 straight years, the full-size pickup from GMC Truck has retained more of its original value than any other in Canada. That's why the popularity of the Sierra is growing faster than any other full-size pickup. And we intend to keep it that way in '91 with the new Sierras. The 1991 Sierra full-size pickup from GMC Truck.
There's banking, and then there's Scotia Banking.
Someone walks into our branch every now and then who could have been my dad 40 years ago. He didn't bring much money to Canada, but he had a skill, a lot of confidence, and Scotiabank to help him find his feet. He's never forgotten that. Never lets me forget it either. He thinks that's why I came to work here, and he could be right.
Scotia Banking. It's banking plus caring.
The 1991 Memorial Cup on TSN is brought to you by Molson Canadian, what beer's all about. By Cooper Canada, official supplier of equipment to the CHL and proud co-sponsor of the Memorial Cup. And in part by Shell, maker of the performance gasoline, Formula Shell. 1 goal in the second period. It comes with 21 seconds left. An innocent-looking play as John Clem gets the puck off the draw, winds it back near the blue line, and then lets it go. The shot beats a screen Pierre Gagnon and makes it 4-1 in favor of Spokane. Jickling draws the only assist. Drummondville and Spokane even in shots through that period. Drummondville has a slight edge in the game so far, but will need a lot more to prevent Spokane from winning its first Memorial Cup. Back now to Paul and Bob.
John Clem, the only marksman in that second period. And he battens down the hatches and gets set for what he hopes will be one final period before he'll be in the dressing room celebrating a Memorial Cup championship.
And we'll be back here next fall. He's signed as a free agent with the Quebec Nordiques.
Third period underway, and Chassé comes in right away, spinning around, trying to get loose. Back to Brisebois, shoots, and Kidd stretching out to knock that away with the pad. Drummondville coming in early. They've got to get some spark in their attack, trailing 4-1, but here comes Junker. Takes the scenic route. Looking for Whitney or Falloon. Here's Denis Chassé. Dupre gloving that ahead. Evans able to scoop it up. Here comes Whitney. He's got Falloon with him. Evans moves up now. In deep, centers it in front of the net. Falloon just failing to bash it home. Bashing around down to the corner now. Chassé will kick it away. Drummondville making some changes. Whittam going after it, number 19. Pekarek, number 32, was up there as well. Fresh off the bench. Jickling coming in. Gets outside, and Desjardins trying to poke it past Gagnon. Desjardins able to catch up. Sherwood just rings it up around the boards and down the ice. And icing is called on Drummondville. 18:20 to play in the third period, so lots of time to go for Drummondville to spark it up and try to come back.
Not a good sign, though, coming out very flat. We played 1 minute and 40 seconds in this third period, and Coach Jean Hamel's team looks as flat in the third period as they did in the second. Not an emotional guy, and his team is playing without very much emotion right now. Complete contrast to last night. Not laying the blame at Jean Hamel's doorstep for his lack of emotion. That's the way he is. He's very stoic behind the bench. Didn't seem to be a problem last night. Certainly tonight, his team is completely flat. Spokane, on the other hand, doing just what they have to win. And not a heck of a lot more than that, really. they're capable of turning it way up. We haven't seen that yet because they haven't had to.
Le Brasseur waved out of the circle. Dave Whittam in to take the face-off. Cote. Toporowski will flip it in, and Gagnon is going to hang on to that.
Brian Maxwell telling his team to move up. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever if Spokane just turned it on here, they can take this game as far as they'd like to. You've got to watch that too. Okay? That's all you need.
And offsetting minor penalties coming at the end of the second period. Murray Garbett sitting in the penalty box along with Alexander Legault. Daniluk struggling for the rebound. And away comes Hugo Prue. Cuts in with Jutra. Prue shoots. And that is way up and out of play over the glass.
Hugo Prue going one-on-one with big Kerry Toporowski. Toporowski does a good job of staying with him. Prue is very fast. And Prue, a center who's now playing on the left side, replacing Rene Corbett, the injured Rene Corbett. Hugo Prue comes across the blue line, but Toporowski stays right with him and gets the stick down to flex this back up high. And this Spokane defense, very unheralded. Trevor Tavel, John Clem, Bart Cote, Kerry Toporowski, Chris Lafreniere, Frank Evans. These are not household names in junior hockey in Canada. There are no stars among them. Not guys are going to go and wow you in the National Hockey League. But boy, are these guys ever effective on the Spokane blue line.
Here's Brisbois. Guilherme along the boards bumping with Maitland. Patrice Brisbois back to pick it up. Garbett bumped out along the boards. Tavel up to Garbett. Looking in front. He's got Maitland there. Gets it to him. Pass was in his skates. And here comes Hugo Prue. Up there with Plante. Prue picked his way through. Tried to get it in front for Plante, but Clem breaks it up. Brisbois up for Prue. Clem pulls that away. And he will just dump it in. Spokane making changes in the fly. The big guns come out. Balloon and Whitney. Evans. Dandino, number 7 for Drummondville, up to Prue. He'll cut in. Prue tried to throw it back for Dandino, but Falloon there to break it up. He starts back. Up with Whitney. Falloon back for Whitney. Here's Clem now. Top of the slot. Scores! Pat Falloon tipped it home.
And that goal by Pat Falloon not only gives Spokane a 5-1 lead and looks as though it ices this Memorial Cup, it also ties a Memorial Cup record for most goals. Pat Falloon standing off to the side of the net. Great play by Evans, number 3, the defenseman. Picks up the puck, dances around, and spots Falloon off to the side of the net. Positioned so well. And Falloon just redirects Evans' shots. But a nice shift by Evans right here to go around a Drummondville forward. Off to Falloon at the side. And Falloon's name goes into the record book alongside Del Howard-Chuck of the Cornwall Royals and Luc Robitaille of the Hull Olympiques. Most goals in a Memorial Cup tournament.
Falloon gets the goal. Evans picks up the assist. And number 14, Ray Whitney, picks up the other assist at 3:28. It is 5-1. Spokane on top.
Falloon's family is in from Foxwarren. His dad, Ron, a farmer. All the folks in Foxwarren got together doing a lot of the chores on the farm, allowing Ron to get here and see his son, Dale Howard-Chuck, for the most goals in a tournament 10 years later, Pat Falloon.
And Falloon, Ray rated on the Central Scouting list to go 5th in the NHL draft coming up next month, has undoubtedly raised his stock a couple of notches with his play at this tournament. Dandino trying to break in. Paquette into the corner. Here's Legault, sharp angle, weak shot. Kidd just knocks it away. Ray Whitney. Lots of room and smokes one in. Fired it after the whistle, and that is going to draw a crowd back out along the boards. Reminder to listen up at the conclusion of this game to the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Apple Auto Glass.
Are you treating your baby right?
Armor All protected every time you wash your car.
Promotional considerations furnished by Toshiba Canada. Toshiba, a strong supporter of the Canadian Hockey League and suppliers of facsimiles and photocopiers to the 1991 Memorial Cup. Pat Balloon scoring the latest Spokane goal at 3:28. Evans and Whitney with the assist. It is 5-1. Still lots of time to go in the third period. Although the way Drummondville is generating offense, you wonder if there might as well be a couple of minutes left at 16.
Right now, Paul, it's a laugher, and nowhere are they laughing harder than in Spokane. They're watching today on Fox 28. The whole city abuzz with what's happening with their Spokane Chiefs. On their way to becoming the second U.S. team to win a Memorial Cup.
And the second team to go through a Memorial Cup championship tournament undefeated. The Oshawa Generals did it last year when they won the Memorial Cup championship. The Generals had a much harder time of it than Spokane did, however. Oshawa had to win a couple of games in overtime, 2 of them in double overtime. Here's Cote. That's blocked. Dupre trying to get it ahead for Chassé. Lars streaking up in over the blue line. Kerry Toporowski. Here comes Larsh. He's got the great speed. In over the line, tried to cut towards the slot. He'll battle with Toporowski, gets tangled up with Trevor Kidd. Here's Brisebois with a shot, tipped wide, rebound, right at the side of the net. Prue bashing and crashing, but he can't put it in. And Kerry Toporowski is going to pick up a roughing penalty, and we'll see if anything else results out of all of this.
Great defensive play by number 23, Calvin Thudium, to save a goal. Hugo Prue came out from behind the net. Had a great opportunity to drive it in, and Thudium got a sweeping sweep check from laying on the ice. And Guy Lehou wants a piece of Kerry Toporowski, and Toporowski 96-0 this year in the Western League. Here's Prue. Watch him behind the net. Comes back to Brisebois on the point. The deflection comes out to Prue. Watch him come out ready to jam it in. And boom, just a great play by Thudium. Then Toporowski gets it on top of Prue. Trevor Kidd comes out. Gets bumped, but back into his net very quickly. Roger Larsh down with Toporowski behind the net. And there's Thudium going down, just swinging wildly at Hugo Prue. Manages to knock the puck off the end of his stick, and then Toporowski comes in and roughs him up a little bit.
And he gets a roughing penalty for his troubles. Guy Lehou also heading off to the penalty box for Drummondville. And at this point, it looks as though the penalties are going to be offsetting. Thudium also heading to the box for Spokane. Have a seat beside Toporowski. So they'll sort out the penalties. The Drummondville Voltigeurs in this game flatter than Arsenio Hall's haircut.
It's one of the most technologically advanced, rigorously tested fluids on Earth, relentlessly measured for maximum protection against the friction, the wear and tear, the heat and stress of today's engines. It is today's Quaker State. In Europe, in Japan, in Canada, Quaker State quality has passed the most demanding tests automakers can throw at it. At Quaker State, we don't just say we're tough, we're tested tough. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
You sit here. No, you sit down there. It's about what they're figuring out down in the penalty box right now. And to the strains of classical music in the background, everyone kind of being lulled into a calm state.
Well, as we look at the two coaches, you wonder if it's not the last game in junior hockey for both of them. And the central figure in all this scenario is Robbie Ftorek. Robbie Ftorek, you say what? Robbie Ftorek is an assistant coach with the Quebec Nordiques. There is speculation that he is leaving the Nordiques, will not be back. There is much speculation that Jean Hamel, the man on the left, will leave the Drummondville Voltigeurs at the conclusion of this season and join the Nordiques as an assistant coach. Now, Brian Maxwell is supposedly in line for some jobs in the National Hockey League. If he goes to the National Hockey League, the man he will undoubtedly bring along with him is Robbie Ftorek. When Robbie Ftorek was the head coach in Los Angeles, Brian Maxwell was his assistant. They're very good friends, and there's lots of talk that they'll be reunited very quickly, or very soon, in the National Hockey League.
2 minutes for walking.
Well, Pierre Gagnon, not up to his heroics of last night, but by the same token, the team in front of him hasn't been nearly as good either. And there's Joe Kennelly, the man who is likely looking down, wondering if his team could have done better in the final against Spokane. What do you think?
Well, I think Felix Potvin would have at least mounted a serious challenge. I don't think that there's any team here in the same class as this Spokane team. Not Chicoutimi, not Sault Ste. Marie, and not Drummondville as we're seeing today. But if there's a one man that could come in and maybe make a difference on this game, it would be Felix Potvin, who was heroic last night. There's no reason to think he couldn't have come in today and at least made it a lot closer than it is right now.
Well, the bottom line, out of all of the penalties, Kerry Toporowski gets the extra 2 minutes. That was the initial call of the entire mess when he was called for roughing, when he popped Hugo Prue in the helmet. Ian Fraser had a tremendous tournament last year, remember, for the Oshawa Generals at the Memorial Cup. Rob DeMaio, Wayne McBean, MVPs for the back-to-back Medicine Hat Memorial Cups.
If I had to bet right now, Paul, I'd say number 19 for the Spokane Chiefs, Pat Falloon, is going to be this year's MVP. Not one goal today. He's had better games in the tournament. I don't think you can give it to Felix Potvin. His team didn't even make it to the finals.
What about Ray Whitney?
I think Falloon's been a little more impressive than Whitney throughout this tournament. That's to take nothing away from the performance of Whitney, the former Edmonton Oilers stick boy. Got a fax from Wayne Gretzky prior to this tournament and the CHL awards ceremony wishing him good luck.
1:41 remaining in the power play for Drummondville. 14:46 to play, third period. Jean Hamel and the Voltigeurs trailing 5-1. They were down 3-1 after one period, 4-1 after two. Pat Falloon adding to the Spokane lead at 3:28 of this third period. Legault with a shot. Can't keep it in. Falloon will pick it up. Here comes Falloon short-handed. Waiting for Whitney to come up and join him, and Falloon will just take it all the way back. The clock ticking down on Drummondville's power play. 1:15 to go on the Voltigeur man advantage. 14:18 to play, third period. The Chiefs leading 5-1. And icing called on Drummondville while they were on the power play.
Bart Cote, an overage defenseman for the Spokane Chiefs, came over in one of the 3 big deals that Spokane made this year. He played for the Brandon Wheat Kings along with Trevor Kidd. He came over in a deal for Bobby House and Marty Murray. Marty Murray, a scoring sensation in Tier 2 hockey in Lethbridge. Brandon's going to be a much better team because of the Trevor Kidd trade next season. But this season, Spokane, the benefactor of Kidd's heroics in the Western Hockey League playoffs, when Spokane only lost one hockey game all the way through. The second game of the playoffs against the Seattle Thunderbirds.
And that loss coming in overtime. And you talk to the guys in Spokane, and they say we shouldn't have lost that one either. .59 seconds left in the Drummondville man advantage. 14 minutes now to play in the third period. 5-1, Spokane leading. The seconds ticking down on Drummondville's season as the Chiefs move ever closer to their goal of a championship. Here's Savard. Moves it down in. Dupre trying to get it in front, battling with Clem in back of the net. 24 seconds left in the power play for the Voltigeurs, and Clem just hugs the boards with the puck. And there'll be a face-off down in Spokane territory.
Well, on 6 occasions in the Western Hockey League, they've had a sweep in their final. Spokane, of course, being the 6th. In each case, the Western Hockey League representative has come to the Memorial Cup and won it. And that will undoubtedly be the case this year unless Drummondville mounts some sort of spectacular challenge here. They don't look as though they're doing it. 20 seconds left in the minor to Calvin Thudium. We can't honestly say that Drummondville's got anything going for them at all tonight.
Here's Lafreniere. And that pops up over the glass and out of play. 14 seconds remaining in the Drummondville power play.
Well, Pierre Gagnon had a great game against Felix Pauvin last night. I don't think Gagnon's going to win this award. He's been pretty good in this tournament. I don't think there's any question Felix Pauvin will win it this year, succeeding Torquia, Greenlay, and Fitzpatrick back-to-back. Going all the way back to little Mikey Vernon, 83. Picked up by the Portland Winterhawks from the Calgary Wranglers.
And will Trevor Kidd feel a little bit slighted if he doesn't win it?
I don't think so. He'll have the Memorial Cup, and that's the biggest honor that they all go after. And Trevor Kidd hasn't had enough work in this Memorial Cup to even qualify for consideration. He'll gladly give it up by default.
Charrois, number 5, going back to pick it up for Drummondville. Penalized player steps back on, and the teams are at even strength. Pekarek losing his balance. Larsh going after down in the corner. Pekarek moving up there. Lafreniere is moving it along the boards to his teammate Frank Evans. Up to Thudium. Hits the line with Zoke. Here's Zoke, shoots. Gagnon takes that on the shoulder, knocking it away. Larsh down in the corner. Garbutt checks him. Puck cleared out to center. John Clem all the way back into his own end. Some room up the middle. Tried to find Zoke. Desjardins back to tag it up, and icing is called on Spokane. 12:29 to play third period. 5-1 hockey game. Spokane leading.
As it stands right now, Guy Lafleur's 1971 Quebec Remparts will remain the last team from this province to win the Memorial Cup. But Guy, it's been a great week here in Quebec City.
It's been a great week. I think most of the team really had fun, and especially today, it's the final game, and I was hoping that they would repeat the win after 20 years, but Spokane's got a very strong team.
It's a very impressive Spokane club, isn't it?
Yeah, very impressive. They're playing well, you know, as a team, and they're playing the right way, I think. Very smart.
Thanks very much, and congratulations on a great week.
Thank you very much.
Guy Lafleur, let's go back upstairs.
Guy Lafleur drawing the biggest cheer of the night so far at this game when he was introduced during the ceremonial face-off to start things off. Dandeneau moves up, trying to knock it down. Clem being watched by LaPerriere, trying to get it in front. LaPerriere just bopped off the puck by Murray Garbutt. And they tangle up along the boards. We'll have another face-off down in the Spokane zone. 12:06, T-minus 12:06 and counting to a Spokane championship.
The Industrial Tool Division of Black & Decker presents the industry's best circular saw with the industry's best circular saw offer. This professional palm sander free with every saw cat. The all-new saw cat from Black & Decker. Finally, a cordless drill that just won't quit. The Black & Decker Univolt, with more torque than its leading competitor and more than 100 watts out of power. Only one thing stops the Univolt. The industrial strength Black & Decker Univolt.
The looks on their faces say just about everything tonight. Down 5-1. The most improved team in Canadian Major Junior Hockey. 58 points better than they were a year ago. But not nearly good enough tonight against the Spokane Chiefs.
Desjardins slapping it in. Trevor Kidd just knocks that away. LaPerriere hopping onto the rebound. Gets tangled up with the referee. Ray Whitney also in there. Paquette trying to jab it loose. He scored the only goal for Drummondville in this game. Whitney starting back. Swings in wide. Whitney just dropped it off. Evans trying to keep it in. Kidd leaving it there for Tavel. Tavel. Up to Maitland. Quickly up to Whitney. Plant knocking that down. Nowhere to go except through a sea of white jerseys. And he elected not to venture forth. Whitney to Thurston. All the way back out. Lafreniere shooting it, and Gagnon will pull that one in.
Pierre Gagnon, as we mentioned off the top, took a little visit today to the Basilica at St. Anne de Beaupré, the shrine where a number of miracles over the centuries have been doled out. There'll be no miracle today for the Drummondville Voltigeurs or Pierre Gagnon. No divine intervention. I guess the big guy has some better things to do than worry about a hockey game.
With all due respect to the Drummondville Voltigeurs and Pierre Gagnon, I think you're right. Jickling trying to knock it down. Claude Jutra. Up for Pekarak. Drops it back for Jutra. He's soundly bopped along the boards by Lafreniere. Here's Clem. .10:34 to play, third period. 5-1 the score. Spokane leading Drummondville. Here's Lafreniere up to Maitland. Jickling breaking up on the wing with him. Coming in with Garbutt as well. Maitland will just dump it in. Brian Maxwell wanting to make some changes. Lots of room for the Voltigeurs to move it out. Can't do it though. Here's Thudium. Out there with Falloon in front to Zook. Fanned on it. Loose puck still. Just poked wide by Zook. He'll gobble up the rebound. Looking in front. He's got Falloon out there with him as well. Trying to poke it loose. Here's Toporowski. 2-on-1 now for Drummondville. Chassé up with Larch. Charging in. And Bart Cote with the big league play to knock it away. Nine and a half minutes to go. Cote. Bad idea. Here's Falloon. Up to Thudium. Denny Chassé comes away. Up there with Charrois and Larch. And he is bulldogged and knocked to the ice by Evans. Kroon racing in there. Can't get to that puck. He's pulled down, and Charrois crashing into the boards after he tried to interfere with Kroon.
Good hustle by Kroon. And a good play a few moments ago by Bart Cote. bailing out his defense partner, Kerry Toporowski. Toporowski fell at the blue line, setting up this 2-on-1. Cote couldn't have played it better. A sweeping check, knocking the puck rather off the stick of Denis Chassé. Denis Chassé and Roger Larchecrew harmlessly out of the way. Look at the defense in Spokane. 4 guys all coming back and being on top of it. Took Bart Cote a little while to adjust to the Spokane system after coming over from Brandon. He was excellent in the playoffs and has had an excellent Memorial Cup.
Here's Brisebois, shoots, Kidd the save. Lehoux, lots of room to move it in, shoots from long range, and it's tipped wide. Brisebois trying to keep it in. Dandeneau, right in front, it's poked away by Evans. Dandeneau along the boards, knocked away. Kroon given a rough ride. Brisebois will move up, and here's Whitney. LaPerriere knocks that away from him. 8 minutes and 20 seconds to go. 5-1, Spokane leading. And a tangle along the boards back behind the play.
Well, they've made the selections for this year's 1991 Memorial Cup Tournament All-Stars. No surprise in goal, Felix Potvin. Outstanding in no less than 2 games, solid in the rest. Brad Tiley from the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and Patrice Brisebois. At center, no surprise there either. Ray Whitney, Pat Falloon, and Brent Thurston. Actually, you might call Thurston a bit of a surprise. Normally a 4th-line guy, although it's hard to call somebody who scored more than 35 goals in the regular season a 4th-line guy. But he came up big early in this tournament. Ray Whitney hasn't had to put on the big display today. This one's a laugher. He and Falloon have been the 2 dynamic players all week.
And in this game, Falloon with 1 point, a goal, and Whitney with 1 point, an assist on Falloon's goal. So they haven't really been a factor in this one. Thought Eric Roulet, the fine defenseman for Chicoutimi, might have gotten some consideration as an all-star. Clem forging his way through. Gagnon kicks that away. Thudium back to Tavel. Heavy shot knocked down in front. Clem with a whack at it. Here's Thudium. He can't get the shot away. Pekarek able to clear it out. And Clem will dump it right back in. Shutrov clears it in for Drummondville. 7.5 minutes to play, 3rd period. 5-1, Spokane leading. And I'll bet they're starting to celebrate in Spokane.
Well, it's the biggest thing since Expo in 1974, the Washington State community.
Here comes Jickling. Up ahead, Falloon will click it on. Lots of room. Fires that one just wide. Legault tipped it a little bit. Falloon in the corner. Here's Jickling now. Looking for Falloon in front. Zoke picks it up. Back out, Lafreniere shoots. Rebound in front. Jickling was knocked down. Evans poking it into the corner. Zoke from the sharp angle. That was stopped by Gagnon. Here's Jickling to Evans. Back for Falloon. Lafreniere clears it in. Jickling. Here's Zoke to Falloon. Looking in front, centers it. Lafreniere closing in, couldn't get the shot away. And a penalty coming up against Drummondville. Pierre Gagnon will be called. A slashing call against Gagnon as he knocked Jickling onto his seat.
There are differing opinions on what it means to be Canadian. But the classic definition is as follows. To be Canadian, you must be clean, cold, and crisp. Because this is what beer's all about.
The call goes against Pierre Gagnon. Mike Jickling standing right on his doorstep. The puck comes out. You'll see he takes a poke and hauls him down. Referee Luke Meville right on the scene to get that one. And just what the Spokane Chiefs need, another power play. More appropriately, just what the Drummondville Voltigeurs don't need.
Here's Whitney. Thurston. Whitney is out there, but surprisingly, his line mate, Pat Falloon, is not. And in fact, for the last few shifts, Brian Maxwell has split up the terrible twosome of Whitney and Falloon. And they've been playing with different line mates, maybe to spread the offense around a little bit with the game well in hand. 1:26 to go on the power play for Spokane. 5:40 to play in the game. The Chiefs just that far away from a Memorial Cup championship. The first in their history. Here comes Jickling. Whitney will move up after it. Back to Clem. Shoots it in. Gagnon knocked it away. Garbett after it in the corner. Garbett has a pair. He's gunning for the hat trick. LaPerriere able to break it up, but he can't get it out. John Clem moves up, shoots. Gagnon the save, loose in front, not for long. Gagnon smothers that with 52 seconds to go on the Spokane man advantage.
Well, Pierre Gagnon now keeping it from being a complete rout, making the save on that power play. Brian Maxwell still right down to the last minute. Last 5 minutes anyways of this hockey game, giving his team a 4, and that's right behind Cam Daniluk from the penalty bench, getting ready for the presentation. 5 minutes and 7 seconds of playing time from now.
Chevelle over to Clem. Vandercrash with a weak shot in. 38 seconds left in the Spokane power play. But they are not pressing all that much. Vandercrash. Upending Brisebois. That draws a rise from the crowd. Chevelle keeps it in. In front of the net. Big chance for Falloon. He couldn't put that one away. Larsh racing up. Trevor Kidd out of his net, and Larsh takes the wide route around him. Legault clearing that in. Offside called on Drummondville. 4:20 to play in the third period. 4 seconds left in the Spokane power play.
Well, they did not play tonight. Jeff Granberg, number 15, Mark Wolf, number 24, and Gord Miller hiding around the corner. He didn't play either. There he is. Get back out of there, Gord. You've been on TV enough tonight. Those players did not play tonight. Wolf for disciplinary reasons. Granberg is the odd man out, but they are dressed and ready to go out. A nice touch to be out there with their teammates to celebrate this first Memorial Cup championship for the Spokane Chiefs. And Gord Miller is not going to get his name on that cup, I guarantee it.
He was schmoozing around looking for an extra jersey, I think, to get in on the celebration. Penalized player back on. The team's at even strength. 4 minutes to play. The Chiefs closer and closer to a Memorial Cup championship. Charrois taps it off the boards. Here's Prue, shoots. Kidd kicks that away. He stopped everything they've thrown at him tonight, save for once. Plot centers it in front. Toporowski breaks it up. And Zilk comes back out, up to Thudium. Maitland is up there to join the rush as well. He cuts in. Maitland, through a maze, just fires it wide. Jutra. Kept in by Bart Cote. Zilk in the corner. Tied up by Desjardins. Garbett pushing that loose. Trying to get it in front. Pair of 22s along the board, and they both flip to the ice. Kroon. Kazok shoots just wide. Garvin centers it in front. Jutro will knock it down. And just clears it down the ice. Trevor Kidd moving out, and icing is waved off. He didn't even have to play it. 2:45 to play, third period. Evans up to Kroon, who fires one in, and that ricochets up out of play.
Well, as the two teams jaw back and forth, we look at the award winners from this year's tournament. The Stafford Smythe Memorial MVP Award going to Pat Falloon of Spokane. George Parsons Trophy Most Gentlemanly Player to line mate Ray Whitney. And no question about the Half M's Memorial Trophy going to the outstanding goalie Felix Potvin. Pat Falloon maybe could score a goal in the final 2:38 and push himself past Dale Howardchuk and Luke Robitaille as the all-time leading goal scorer in a single Memorial Cup tournament. Could well do that. 2:38 left. The pickings are easy out there if he wants it.
Here comes Paquette, wide open. And Kidd out to stop him. And then a nice stop by Bart Cote on the rebound. A total team effort. Falloon racing up after. Falloon and Whitney out on the ice together now. Here's LaPerriere. Back for Guy Lehoux. 2 minutes to play. Dandino. Here's Savard. And they're starting to celebrate down on the Spokane bench. The high five starting to make their way up and down with a minute and a half left. Falloon picks his way through. And back out. Chassé back in his own end. Losing it in front. Daniluk was there trying to cash in. Here comes Chassé back. Right down the middle, trying to go coast to coast, and Kidd will just bump that away. And they've got the wave going on the Spokane bench. The players really having a good time. 54 seconds left.
Well, from the city that gave the world Kitty Kelly, although I don't know that they really want to admit it, Brian Sandberg, John Stockton, Tom Sneva, the Spokane Chiefs doing their version of the wave. City of Spokane has now given the Canadian Hockey League its Memorial Cup champion for 1991. 54 seconds left in the game, and the boys are having a little fun. As opposed to a lot of fun, which is what they're going to have when they get out of this arena.
And which is what their fans are having in countless sports bars around Spokane right now, tuning in to watch this.
All the folks watching on Fox 28, everybody in the Canadian Hockey League salutes the Spokane Chiefs. We're going to win this Memorial Cup going away.
45 seconds to go in the game. Here's Cote. Thudium trying to get it up ahead there for Daniluk. Knocked away. 15 seconds to go. And the Spokane Chiefs finally closing their grip on something that was never all that far out of their reach. They are the 1991 Memorial Cup champions.
Brian Maxwell going out to take a well-deserved bow from his teammates. He's the catalyst, the guy who makes it all happen. The road ends here for Drummondville. No contest. contest in this Memorial Cup from start to finish. From the moment the Spokane Chiefs arrived in this city to the time they leave, there was nobody even close to being in their class. They are indeed simply the best.
This is their moment, so why don't we step into the crowd and share it with them for a few.
Bobby Brett, owner of the Spokane Chiefs, brother of George of the Kansas City Royals. The Bretts bought this team last spring, and here they are a year later, champions of the Canadian Hockey League. And the drought for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League will continue. The last time a Quebec-based team won the Memorial Cup, 1971. 20 years and counting.
The Boz. He's an
colorful characters.
Yes?
Whatever the weather.
I'll have what he's having.